All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey, good evening all. Good evening to all who are joining from India, and good morning to all who are joining from other parts of the countries. I hope you are in a morning time zone. Uh, Welcome all. Welcome to the Cloud Computing and Amazon Training. I am Tarun Dave, your trainer, and I'll be taking through you to the different 6 modules of the course where we will be covering the cloud computing as well as the important products of the Amazon Web Services with the hands-on part. Before I move ahead, I just wanted to get a little go ahead from your side. So are you all able to see my screen? Are you all able to hear me? Okay, I'm sharing the screen also, so I hope you can see my screen also. Right? Hey, thanks all. Can see the PPT. Thanks all. Thanks Shashi, Dilip, Nagesh, Shankar, Babu, everyone. So it's a good to see you all here, and I hope all you enjoy the day for your day, whatever it's a morning or evening. I'll give little bit brief about myself, and then I'll start on that. My name is Tarun, and I'm working with Edureka as a cloud computing trainer. My major area of focus is Amazon Web Services, and for that I have more than 3 years of experience with total industry experience of more than around 12 to 13 years. And for Edureka as well as for Edureka partners, I have done various workshops on Amazon and cloud computing and all that. How the work of the Edureka works is normally that Edureka is an online training provider, as you all know, and we have a 24/7 support team also. So you all must be provided a login site where you can log in and raise your issues, tickets. You can raise a ticket over there if you have any concerns. All the materials which we are, I'm going through all the material content today, that will be shared with you, as well as today's session would be recorded and it would be available on the same site, so you can access that. One thing to notice that at the end of every session, we would be doing some hands-on, and for the first 3 or 4, I'll be providing some of the hands-on material also, which would be like a step-wise guide. It's something like you go for a manual kind of a thing, step-wise manual with screenshot. The similar kind of things I will provide, and that will be provided again on our Edureka website only, and you can access from that. So if you are not able to get that, or you're not able to access it, you can always raise a ticket to support team and they will redirect you. Also during the session, any moment you feel you are not clear, you have any doubts, you can just post your question over here and I'll try to answer that as early as possible with the course. With that, I'll start our journey to the cloud computing, and I hope you all enjoy the session. Again, good evening all, and let's start the training. So for the cloud computing, what we are going to do is, so today's we will be doing with the, currently we have rather distributed the complete course in 6 modules, and each module would be happening at every Saturday this time period. So if it's in India, it's 7 p.m. For the other countries, it might be in a different p.m. By the way, just on a curious note, I would like to know, are you all guys from the India or you are from a different part of the world? Could you just mention your countries and something, if possible? Okay. A few from India, a few from Singapore. I believe it will be a little less for you. A couple of guys. One is from US, so it's a different time zone for everyone. Normally, so for India and US, India would be little. We'd start with 7 and normally try to end by 10 p.m. But for the first 2-3 modules, I just warn you a little bit based on my experience, since we go through a lot of depth of the topics as well as we try to do a lot of hands-on, and based on our previous experience, we extend a little bit more. And little bit more means it would be 3.5 to 4 hours sometimes. So I assure you, you will not feel bored, or any moment you will not feel like that you have missed something. You will definitely enjoy your journey. But pardon me for some part where I might have extended a little bit more than expected. So and if you have emergency, you need to leave, you can leave. You would have that recording available for you, so you can always go to the site and check the recording. And as well, whenever you have any questions in future also, you can always reach out to our Edureka team, or even if required, you can reach out to me also, and we will be happy to help you on that part. So coming back to our course curriculum, Our course curriculum is distributed across the 6 topics. In the 6 topics, it would be like, first would be today's topic is overview about the cloud computing, and we start with the overview of cloud computing, considering you might be familiar with the cloud computing, you might not be familiar with the cloud computing. So we will cover brief about the cloud computing, what are the different models of the cloud computing, then a complete overview of the Amazon. So what are the Amazon products, a key phrase words, keywords of the Amazon, and one of the key products of Amazon, that is Amazon EC2 or Elastic Compute Cloud. And at the end, we would be doing the hands-on for that part also. So you will be doing that. In the module 2, we would be covering the Amazon storage part. That would be Amazon Elastic Block Storage and Amazon Simple Storage Services, which are for the different kind of storage requirements and all that. And we would be doing the, again, hands-on for those sessions. In the module 3, we would be covering one of the key aspects of the Amazon, that is Amazon scaling services, like Elastic Load Balancer, CloudWatch, and auto scaling. And it would be a full hands-on session on that. So around 2.5 hours of the theory, and then 1.5 hour full hands-on to give you how the complete scaling scenario works in Amazon. In the module 4, we would be working with them some of the concepts of the Amazon. So first 3 are very important modules. The first 4, 5, 6 would be where we would be refreshing more about the Amazon, what we can do that. The module 4 would be the Amazon Glacier, where it was another storage service, and we also touch about the different Amazon databases, including the NoSQL Amazon offering, as well as Amazon RDS. Amit, I'll get back to your question. On the module 5, we will touch upon the Amazon identification and access management, that is for the more security and the role-wise access purpose. Also, we will touch upon briefly or just take the overview about the Amazon products like Elastic Beanstalk, CloudFormation, Simple Notification Service, or Simple Email Service. We'll also try to cover about the Amazon CloudFront and import-export part over there. The Glacier is still wrongly mentioned over here. Glacier we already covered in module 4. In the module 6, all about the architecture part. So 5 up to 5, you would be pretty good with the Amazon key products of that. And in the module 6 would be where you would be touching upon some of the unknown aspect of the Amazon, or some of the best practices of the Amazon, where how can you calculate the cost of the Amazon, how does the Amazon account work for, what are the best practices if you are an architecture, how can you do the architecture or design for the Amazon, few tips for the cost savings as well as security purpose. So another 6 module which would be completely out of the Amazon but related to Amazon fundamentals. How can you, and this would be USP of the training, I would say, in a way, because when you stand in the market, this would be the part which would be distinguished from the other public, because most of the people can learn the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, definitely the hands-on and everything would be different, plus the deep down sessions which we have in each module would be different, but they would know, but this part would be make you different. So I'll request you all to stay together till the module 6, and I'm sure you'll enjoy that part. Okay, Amit has a very good question where he says that, do we need to buy the Amazon account for hands-on? Yes, Amit, you need to buy the Amazon account for that, and I'll cover that in my session today when we go to Amazon overview as well as on Amazon EC2. I'll show you how you can do that. There are a lot of free services available with the Amazon, so you don't need to worry about the charge, but you would need one at least account to work with the Amazon. Okay, so today's agenda would be, first would be starting with the cloud computing. That's what the definition of the cloud computing delivery models, cloud computing deployment models, the key differentiators. Then we'll start with the Amazon. What is the Amazon? The basic keywords of the Amazon, Amazon security mechanisms, and then we'll be touching upon the EC2, where we'll be saying EC2 instance overview, the different kind of Amazon instances, and Amazon EC2 tools overview on that. Okay, Shankar mentions that the bottom portion of the PPT is slightly cut. I'm not sure what is the last statement you can read. For me, the last statement is EC2 tools overview. Are you able to read that? Okay, so for Shankar it comes down to low cost is the last for me. I believe for others, are you able to see that? The last point, again, I'm just repeating, it's a EC2 tools overview. So you would be able to see that. Okay, so I'll try to see if we can do something for you, or whenever possible, I'll speak up the last line also for you, so you don't feel you're missing something. The last line for here is the EC2 tools overview, which we would be seeing. This is just agenda. Okay, so let's start our cloud journey. The first rocket, we are shooting to the cloud. Now, cloud computing. Everybody, if you see in the world, talking about the cloud computing. People say, I want to host something in a cloud. I want to store in the cloud. I want to do this with the cloud. Uh, Everybody is interested in doing something for the cloud. And the question comes out. So when you go to the layman language, if you go and say, what is cloud? Everybody say, okay, I want to put something in a cloud. I want to host in the cloud. Now, this is a really buzzword happening across the industry. So if you see the industry trend also here, and the Irish Times in the 2013, in the July only, they said the cloud computing has the potential to radically change the nature of information and communication technology and provision in the public service and significantly reduce the cost. So that's one of the key aspects why cloud computing is becoming more and more popular. Another, and Scott McNeely of the former CEO of Sun Microsystems, and a very interesting statement he has made. He says, now we are moving out of the ice age, yes, iron age, the industrial age, the information age. Now we are going to the participation age. And the participation age, where you are participating more and more over the internet, it's just not about the viewing the stuff. We build the infrastructure that goes in the data center that facilitates and participation age. Now, most of you might have some smartphone available with you. It can be Apple, it can be Samsung, it can be Microsoft, or the Nokia, could be anything. And that if you now try to get with that, you are participating more and more over the internet. The internet access is becoming more and more easier for you. It's a faster data network is coming with you. The applications which are coming, which is very easy to use, and just with your smartphone, you are able to stay connected with across the world. Now, and that's one of the key aspects I would say is the cloud computing is making it happening. So if you just take an example of Dropbox, Dropbox is using Amazon Web Services, and that's what it's making it. The Dropbox itself is some kind of a cloud offering, which I'll talk about that. But that's what it's making it available. So you are participating. It's not about the viewing or something. You are either sending the stuff, you are either storing the stuff, or you are viewing, or you are making the stuff for that. And that's what you are going the new era completely, the participation age. Gartner itself says that the cloud is in it. If you see the Gartner hype cycle for the cloud, there are the different use cases for the cloud computing. And if you see one of the use cases is over here is infrastructure as a service, which would be the thorough of the disillusionment. Also, even the usage a slope of enlightenment or the productivity. So cloud advertising or the dedicated email service, virtualization, software as a service model. So those models are now becoming more and more mature. And the new things, if you see on the left hand side, they are the technology trigger. So they are triggering up the things. And what are the things? If you see, one of the key aspect which is coming up these days is DevOps. DevOps is a development operation mechanism. It's nothing but a life cycle methodology. So you have a life cycle methodology like a waterfall and those kind of a scenario. The DevOps is another life cycle methodology, but the advantage of DevOps is it integrates the development team and operation team. So taken a product company which has a multiple deployments in a day only. So where they are having a multiple deployments, for them the DevOps would be a nice environment because development team needs to collaborate more effectively with the operation team, because operation team is responsible for deploying, development team is responsible for developing. Now to collaborate more and ensure that it goes without failure and without any hiccups, the DevOps is coming up, and then the DevOps with the cloud is a in thing these days. People are the requirement for DevOps is increasing day by day. If you go on a little peek of the infected, again cloud email is also there. So those are the things. The dedicated email service is matured much now. The cloud email is coming up. It's a peak of the infected expectations. And what is a cloud email? Or rather, let me ask you, what is the cloud computing? Everybody, cloud computing, damn cloud computers. What is that? What do you mean by the cloud computing? And if you go for a cloud computing, before again I jump to the cloud computing exact definition, I'll see again I try to build little more hype over there. The market, again Forrester report says that the cloud computing market will rise from currently around $40 billion is it, which would be almost $241 billion by 2020. And that's again they're just anticipating that it would go by over 20%. And people estimate, no, it would be estimating much more than 20%. So maybe more than 240 billions also can reach. And if you see, The Apple itself, which is the highest earning company for now, is almost standing at 240 or 200 billion plus revenue. I'm not sure for the numbers, but I believe that's almost same numbers. And the cloud computing alone would be garnering this much amount of the money. So that's why the people are more crazy or more demanding for the cloud computing. But what do you see here? What is the cloud computing exactly for that? Have you used cloud computing before? Do you know what is cloud computing? So let me start with an example. I'm sure you must have used Gmail for now, right? Everybody knows about Gmail. Gmail is a cloud offering from Google. It's an email cloud-based email offering from Google. Now, the Gmail is in existence almost since 2002. So does it mean the cloud is in existence since 2002? You can say that way, but the term cloud computing has coined more effectively from, I believe, 2005 and 2006. And since then it is being more popular with the Amazon coming up and Salesforce and everybody's coming up, and then cloud is becoming more and more mature. Again, I'm saying it's becoming more and more mature. It is still not mature. So there are people do have a lot of concerns with the cloud computing yet. And that is the reason that people believe that by the time 2016-17, cloud would be much mature and the growth would be much higher. So if you see, that's why. So in the year 2011, what is that stage? It's around 40 billion revenue was coming from the public cloud is consuming 25 billions, while the virtual private is 7.5 billions and private cloud is 7.8 billions. Now what is public cloud or what is private cloud? Again, in a few slides I will cover up much detail about that. But by the 2020, the same amount would be, if you see the growth, public cloud would be growing much faster than your virtual private or the private cloud. And again, the reason would be the cloud would be much more mature than what it is right now. So from 2011 to 2013, we have seen much more improvements, much more cost reduction, much more cost effectiveness. Everybody is going for those kind of requirements on the cloud. And I'm sure by the 2015 and 16, the cloud would be much better situation. So by 2020, it would be ruling the world on that. With this all hype, what is cloud computing exactly? Cloud computing, if you ask anybody, it would be like it's a 4 or 5 blind man and then elephant kind of a story. If somebody's touching its legs, it would say it's like a tree. Somebody's touching its body, it says it's like a wall. Somebody touching its tail, it says it's like a rope. So everybody would have a different concept about a cloud computing. And that's why if you see the different sites also, they would have a different kind of a definition also for the cloud computing. So I'll go with that couple of definitions. First would be the Forrester. The Forrester says a form of standardized IT-based capability such as internet-based services, software or IT infrastructure offered by a service provider that is accessible via internet protocols from any computer, is always available and scales automatically to adjust to demand, is either pay per use or advertising based, has web or programmatic based control and interface. Okay, little bit complicated, isn't it? If I make it simple for you, cloud computing is something where a business service is offered to you on a pay-as-you-go model. So whatever the service you are consuming, you will be paying only for that service. Example, you want to store a few files on internet. So you would be paying only for the amount you are storing the part. So if you are storing 1 GB, you will be paying only for the 1 GB. You should not pay for the 10 GB or 100 GB. Same way, if you are running a virtual machine on cloud, you rent for 5 hours or 10 hours, you would be paying only for those 5 or 10 hours. In this scenario, if you see a storage service or virtual service, everything is a kind of a business service. The business service could be anything. You can say it's the email itself is a business service. Your supply chain management, which Salesforce offers, is also a business service. You can say that what Amazon offers is a virtual service, is a business service. Some the Force.com and all that offer the platform, or even Google App Engine offers a platform where you can build your own applications. So that's also a business service. A business service which is offered to you on a pay-as-you-go model makes a cloud computing. And does it mean that everything is a cloud computing? So whatever is available on internet is a cloud computing or something every time they charge on a pay-as-you-go model is a cloud computing? No, that is not the right thing. For that, I would go with the definition or the attributes defined by the NIST. that is National Institute of Standard and Technology. For the NIST, they say that anything which has to be a cloud enabled or which is going as a cloud service, it has to follow these key 5 attributes. And what are those key 5 attributes? First one is a broad network access or ubiquitous network access. That means it should be accessible over internet. It should be accessible from any part of the world. Now that's a little debatable thing because sometimes you may not want to share it on the internet due to some of your privacy or security concern, and there is a separate kind of a cloud available which is a private. Again, I'll come to that point, but in that aspect it would be accessible over intranet of your organization. But the main concept is it should be accessible on a broad network access. So it should not be dedicated for a machine. It's not a desktop based application. So that's one of the key component. Second part is a rapid elasticity. Now elasticity, what is elasticity? Elasticity means something where the resources are available when you need it. So if you say, I take an example, there are 2 aspects to that and which we'll cover again on module 3, elasticity and scalability, and those 2 are an important aspect of a cloud computing. In elasticity, it's more about the stretching the resources till the time they are possible. So again, Shashi has a question like broad network access is a WAN. It can be WAN, it can be LAN, it can be internet, it can be anything. Ideally, say if it's a public cloud, again I come to what is public cloud, but if it's a public cloud, it should be accessible across the internet. So whatever part of the world you are, you should be able to access it. In a wide area network, it would be for some kind of a network elements only. That is also possible. If you are for a organization specific cloud, in that scenario it would be accessible across the organization using LAN. So that's the scenario, but important aspect is a broad network access. So it's not as dedicated for a machine, it should be accessible to all. In the elasticity part I was going about, that elasticity which is where the using the or optimally using the resources. So I take an example of a rubber band. Most of them have the rubber bands, we must have seen. You stretch it as much as possible to tie to a bag or something over there or a box. Now take an example, you have a 2-inch rubber band or 2-inch box and you tie a rubber band over there. Since your rubber band is big, you make 2 rounds of the rubber bands over there. Now if your box is little bigger, it's a 4-inch box, you would be just trying making a 1 round of over the box. So it's a elasticity of the rubber band which helps you to, as much as a box expands, it will be able to expand over there. And that's a similar concept of the cloud computing also, optimally using the resources. So if you have some resource, it should be used optimally till the most of the resources are available to you. Third and important aspect is a measured service or pay-as-you-go model. Since we talk about that, any business service which is offered you as a pay-as-you-go model, same way cloud should be a measured service. A measured is a very important aspect. So it should be able to charge you back. So when you are using Amazon or Google App Engine or Windows Azure, whatever you are using, it should be able to charge you back. And to charge you, how would it charge it back? So for that, it has to know what service you are using or how much service you are using. So it should be a measured service, on demand or self-service. Take an example where you have a laptop requirement for your office or something. Now if you are working in an organization, normally you have a procurement department, and that's a standard thing for the corporate. So you just inform your procurement department, so you would provide some of the approvals if required, or you are the boss, you don't need the approvals, but you would just tell your procurement department that please procure a laptop for me. Now what would procurement department would do? They will ask few vendors to provide the tenders, or they'll go online and search what is the right fit, what is the requirements, and then they will do a lot of searching, all that, and then they will procure one. It will take some time to payment. If it's a credit card payment, it would be immediate, and then the vendor would ship to you and it would come to you. So complete process would take almost, I would believe, from 2 days, 4 days to 1 month based on their procurement cycle and everything. Cloud has an advantage. It is on demand. So if you need the cloud, it should be available immediately. Since it's available on broad network access, whenever you need it, it is available to you. So you request the cloud. You request, I need a 2 GB server, I need a 8 GB server, I need 128 GB server, RAM server. I mean, It is available to you. You want 400 GB hard disk, you want 800 GB hard disk, it is available to you. So whatever you need, it's an on-demand service. And that's a key aspect. Now, one of the very important aspects is a resource pooling. What do I mean by resource pooling? Have you heard the word called multi-tenancy? Multi-tenancy or resource pooling are the same words. And you must have been using, like you are using Gmail or you are using for different users. Now those, if you see, I just take out the other Gmail part, where as an end user you are using a system, you are trying to access your banking application or something over there. Now how would it work out for you? You are an end user for the system. So in that aspect, you are just an end user. You are not a tenant for the system. A tenant would be a group of users. Giving an example, there is an organization which is offering a banking services. Now, Axis Bank, HDFC Bank and ICICI Bank are buying those kind of a services. Bank, since they are providing some kind of a banking service, so those three banks are buying those services from them, and which would be used by the end user of the, or the customers of the Axis Bank or ICICI Bank. Now the requirement from Axis Bank is that when I am using your banking service, the logo should say Axis Bank. Or when ICICI Bank says that when I using the your service, the front page should have the security warning, and at the bottom there should be a click here to log in. The HDFC Bank would have some kind of a different requirement. The banking service, which is providing this offering to the different banks, would configure its software in such a way, or it would configure its business service in such a way that it's the same software at the back end or the same software deployed, but when the three users are accessing it, they would have a different look and feel, different kind of attributes, different kind of access, different kind of a service internally. So without modifying your code, without changing anything, just based on your users or based on your bank, which is, it would be doing some kind of a change. And here in this scenario, Axis Bank or ICICI Bank or HDFC Bank would be a tenant for that banking service. And all the users of Axis Bank or HDFC or ICICI would be playing end users of that tenant. Understand the aspect? Now if I make a case of Gmail, to make more simplifying the for you, Gmail, as we all use that Gmail is offering a email service and we can sign up for free. That's not the only case. There would be a case where the organization like Edureka, or there would be some other learning organizations, they could be they don't want to set up their own email infrastructure. They said it's a too much costly affair. I don't want to invest over there. Why should I make my own system, or why should I reinvent the wheel? The email system is already available. So I could just go to the Gmail and say, hey Gmail, hey Google team, I want email system or email service from you. The extension of would be, the email address would be tarun@edureka.com or xyz@edureka.in, whatever it is. It should have the domain like that, and then whatever the users I want, I would be asking you to create those users for me. Gmail has that kind of a scenario. So for organization, when they go and register with those, Gmail would provide a separate URL also from them. It will be like email.edureka.in, and it would have their own login page. When I provide my username and password, it would be taking me at the back end. All services are from Gmail only, but from front end as an end user, I would never know that whether Edureka is using Gmail service or they are using some Outlook service or they are using something else. So in that aspect, that Edureka is one tenant. There would be another organization like some university. So an IIT, they just approach Gmail and say set up an email service for us. So all the access or email address would be xyz@iitdelhi.com, abc@iitdelhi.com, pqr@iitdelhi.com, so something like that. So at the back end, the service would be Gmail. Front end, you feel that this is you are just using the email service of the IIT only. So IIT would be playing a tenant for Gmail. Does it clear a concept for the tenant or resource pooling? It's a very important aspect, and then you should know, because when you want to make your own cloud system, you should consider all the 5 attributes. How can I make a broad network access? How should I provide the elasticity? How should I make a measured service? How should it be the on-demand? And most important, how would it be resource pooling a multi-tenant system? So any doubts on that? Anything over there? Or should we move ahead? Thanks, Shashi. Thanks for the appreciation. Okay, so we are moving ahead. Now we would go with the service models. Now cloud computing has a two kind of a models. One is a service models, another is a deployment models. Service model, there are three. Again, I am going more with the NIST definition. That's the National Institute of Standard and Technology definition. So they define there are three major service model for the cloud computing. First one is a software as a service model. Second one is a platform as a service model. And third one is the infrastructure as a service model. Now we'll take about that in a little more in the coming slides. But to give you something more brief here, any software which is offered you as a business service is a software as a service model. So take an example I've written here, CRM, the customer relationship manager, or say what Salesforce is offering, email, what Gmail is offering, social collaboration, the what Facebook is offering, payment and reconciliation, what the PayPal is offering. So those are the cases for the software as a service model. Even collaboration or the collaboration module, GoToMeeting, which we are using right now. Now Edureka has purchased the GoToMeeting service from that. So the login page would be something like Edureka and all that configured for the Edureka. And after logging, it would be again providing the GoTo service only, but some of the screens are customized, or even some of the users of Edureka has some kind of admin access, so they can schedule the meeting and all that. So this is a GoToMeeting or WebEx. They are offering software as a service model. So is the Gmail. In a platform as a service model, a platform is offered you as a service, or platform is offered you as a business service. Now, what do I mean by the platform here? Platform, I mean something which allows you to develop your own application. It could be any middleware, so something like you dip onto, or something collaboration tool, or the broker service. So you have an integration service where multiple applications are talking to each other. Now they don't talk directly. You would be playing something middleware over there, which you are offering. So you would be getting some data from Gmail, and you are sending those data to external world, to the Google Mobile. Just I'm taking an example, or over the SMS. So you would be developing some middleware over here, and that's like a platform, something provided. Google provides those kind of platform. A database, a complete managed database service, where a complete database is deployed for you, managed for you. You don't need to fine tune it. You don't need to do a patch management. You just need to go and create tables and insert the data and fetch the data. So complete database is managed by you, and Amazon provides that kind of a service. You would provide the build, dev, and test kind of a scenario. Like Google offers you a application server like Tomcat. So you just develop an application and deploy on Google. It would be doing all the scaling parts. So whenever the load increases, it will be doing scaling up. If the load decreases, it will be doing scaling down. So those kind of a requirement offered to you. So that is where a platform is provided to you. Force.com is another example for that. In infrastructure as a service model, infrastructure is offered to you as a service. Now, infrastructure can be a virtual server, virtual network, virtual desktop, virtual compute power, virtual storage service. So those are offered you. Something which you can access through broad network access, and some infrastructure service which you are accessing to the broad network is a infrastructure as a service model. One thing which is coming up recently is like anything is a service model. So apart from these three, one thing people are coming with, like management as a service, business outsourcing as a model, or the business process as a service. Even network as a service is also developing itself. So network as a service model would be like a Cisco is going over there, where some of the networks you don't need to set up. If you want to set up your own Wi-Fi, so you don't need to set up your own infrastructure completely. Those kind of a networking service would be offered by the Cisco. Now Shashi has a question here. So does SaaS involve PaaS and IaaS implicitly? And similarly, does PaaS involve IaaS implicitly? A very good question, Shashi. And one way it is yes, because to make a PaaS, you need a scalable infrastructure also. Now, why I say that it's not always IaaS, because when you are making a platform as a service, your end goal or your target audience is you provide a platform to the end user. So at the beneath, you might be using some infrastructure which is a scalable, which could do some kind of a replication, which could do some kind of backup. You can use some kind of infrastructure service model over there, but there would be a cases where you don't use the infrastructure, but you manage completely on your own, and you do auto deployment, you manage your complete infrastructure and do the virtues and everything over there. So it's always good when you use the infrastructure service for PaaS or SaaS, but it's not always the case. So I don't say it's always implicitly, but yes, sometimes it's very easy to use. So your scalability and some kind of requirements are already satisfied by the AWS. Does it answer your question? Okay. Now the cloud deployment models. There are 4 kind of a deployment models defined by the NIST. First is a public cloud. Now public cloud, which is something accessible over internet. So in a broad network access sense, which can be accessed over the internet from any part of the world. As long as your internet is working, you should be able to access that. And that is what the public cloud is. In a private cloud, something what would be like your WAN or LAN kind of a scenario, where you could access only which is only for your organization. Something where you want to do some security part and all that, you would be creating a private cloud for that, which would be available for your organization only. The point for the private cloud node is it's normally a single tenant because it's for your organization only. It's not shared across the multiple tenants. In public cloud like Amazon or Google, that would be for the different tenants. Community cloud. I'll first jump to the community cloud. In community cloud, it's more like where a different organization or different like-minded organization. I come back to the same point which I showed during the resource pooling. There is a company which is offering a banking services. So HDFC, Axis and ICICI want to buy that. Now they decide that why should we go to this external service and buy that? I don't feel it's secure because they can sell it to some other party, and if that's not secure, what would happen to our data? Let's make our own cloud, because we are in the same banking domain. We know our security requirements, but we don't want to invest a huge cost for making our private cloud. So let's get together and make our own cloud. So Axis, HDFC and ICICI come together and make a private cloud, make their own cloud, which is accessible only to the end user or the customers of the Axis, HDFC and ICICI. So in this scenario, a few organizations which are like-minded organizations coming together and making their own cloud makes a community cloud. So it's not only for a private, it's not only for the Axis, it's not only for the HDFC, it's not only for the ICICI, it's for the group of that company. And that's why it's for a special purpose of group of the community, it's coming together and making a cloud. So it's called a community cloud. But the important part is it should be a like-minded people, because they want to share the things over there. In a hybrid cloud, it would be like a mix of the public private, mix of public community kind of a scenario, because sometimes public cloud is more scalable. I'll come to that slide. So public cloud is more scalable, and you would like the scalability or a high elasticity part of the public cloud. But at the same time, private cloud is more secure. So you need a security part of the private cloud. So if you want to take the benefits of the both, you can store some of the data on private cloud, which requires security, and you can host your servers on a public cloud, which requires the scalability. So combining those two makes your a hybrid cloud scenario. So clear with the deployment models? I'm moving ahead. Okay, I got a question from Dilip. Okay, first I get the question from Shankar, that what are the boundaries for private cloud? Shankar, if I understand your question, the boundary would be, first when we are making about private cloud, boundary would be it would have some kind of a resources, because you are making for your organization, you are procuring infrastructure for that, and then you would be developing a private cloud on top of that. So it would always have a finite number of infrastructure. While if you go to a public cloud, it would have a, yes Shankar, it's like a data center, you are making your own data center, but it would have a finite number of resources. So if you want to grow that, you need to procure a new infrastructure and you need to keep on growing there. If you go for a public cloud, it's a virtually unlimited resources available to you, and number of resources. In Amazon, Microsoft, all those provide that. So you can grow as much as you want. They won't stop you. So today you need the 2,000 servers, tomorrow you need 10,000 servers. It's always possible to get with them. While for your virtual private cloud, you want to grow from 2,000 to 10,000, you need a lot of approvals, you need to procure everything. So that's a little tough part for them. Another question from Dilip, hybrid, 1 second please. Dilip, hybrid cloud is something where you have the mix of the public and private cloud. So I take an example where you need a security part. You have a secure data which you do not want to host on a public cloud. So in that aspect, you would not store your data in the public cloud because that's a security. But as I just said that due to boundary condition of the private cloud, it cannot scale beyond certain limit. But you need an infinite scalability part also. So what you would do is you would host that kind of a server on your application server or a web server on public cloud. And public and private cloud would be connected through a secure channel, like VPN or something. So public cloud can only access your data through that tunnel. Nobody else can access that. And that would be moving like over there. So it would be your mix of public and private over here. Okay, there is one more question from Sudhir. How can we demarcate between SaaS and PaaS? Yes, I'm coming to that point, Sudhir. In the SaaS part, so if you see the cloud delivery model, the SaaS part is majorly for the where you offer a business service, and in your PaaS part where you allow the user to make their own service. So take an example, you want to make an email service. So in that email service part, your application is readily available, or your business service is readily available to you. You just use that email services like a Gmail or a collaboration pack like GoToMeeting or a CRM part like Salesforce.com. So a software is readily available to you. You can directly start using it. Now take a scenario where you want to allow the users to develop their own application. So I take example of like Google's Google App Engine. Google App Engine provides a Tomcat based scenario where you just create your Java application. So you're developing your application on your own using whatever the tools you want to develop, but then you deploy that application on Google App Engine. So you deploy the Java application on Tomcat based server provided by Google. You can use the database service offered by the Google. That's a big table service which is called. Now advantage you would be get, you don't need to manage any your web server. You don't need to manage your database part. Everything, those two services are managed by the Google itself. So Google provides you a platform to manage your application. So developing application is within your control, but then management of your application, whether you want to scale up, it want to scale down, whether it has to add more database servers, whether it has to scale up the database, everything is being managed by the Google. So Google is providing you a platform to manage your services. So if you see here, the platform as a service model, it provides a facilitation for hosting capabilities. It's a designing and developing the application. So you're designing or developing application. Now, I just gave an example of a deploying an application. Coming to a case of the designing an application, Force.com provides an application where it provides a code. It is tied up with the SourceForge and another scenario where you can combine the things. So SourceForge provides the some of the APIs where you can do for the SMS part. You can use the APIs for email part. You can do the APIs for the database access. You can do APIs to access the Salesforce part. So those are the different APIs they provide. And so is the case for the Google App Engine. They provide the APIs to access the Google email service, to Google Hangout service, Google search service, Google SMS service. So Google provides the APIs. So just in your application, you call those APIs. So it provides you a platform to make your application. So that's why it makes your platform as a service model. I think it clears a doubt. Right. So there is one more question, like something belong to both SaaS and PaaS. I did not get your question. So did I clarify your doubt, or you still have some doubt? Okay. Yeah. Amit has a question, that is hardware virtualization only the hardware layer of cloud, or there are other technologies? Good question, Amit. That's definitely one of the layer. It's not you need a hardware. So if I just take an example of IaaS or infrastructure service, you need to do a virtualization of that. Now once you do the virtualization, you need a lot of memory also, right? So sometimes you are using a and you can do that using a hypervisor tools. What is a hypervisor? Hypervisor is something which enables the virtualization, and you might all have heard about the word VMware or vCloud. vCloud is from Microsoft. VMware is popular company. Amazon uses a thing called Zen open source hypervisor. So they do the virtualization part. So that's the one of the your hardware layer. Another hardware layer you can think of is the networking part. So the networking is also involved over there, right? Now using your hypervisor, you can virtualize your memory, you can virtualize your compute power and everything. You can do that. You can even do the virtualization of your storage service also on that. So you would need some kind of a virtualization, but that does not mean that virtualization means the cloud computing. Virtualization plays a key role for making a cloud computing, but it does not transfer that the virtualization, because to make a cloud enable application, you need to follow those 5 attributes. Does it clear your question? Okay. So moving ahead, as we saw about the SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS. The SaaS is more for the end user part. So end user would be like somebody accessing email service I want to access directly, or I want to use the SCM part over there. In a PaaS part, it will be more for the application owners who want to develop the applications. In the IaaS part, it's for the, again, application owners who want to host the application. So in the PaaS, it's who want to build the application. In IaaS, who want to host the applications. And some of the examples we have already given. It's like application development, decision support, web streaming. Those are for the PaaS. Like for the IaaS, it will be caching service, security service, legacy system management, virtual network, everything over there. Okay. So Shashi says, I guess based on your explanation on API in cloud computing, fall in between SaaS and PaaS. This distinction is very subtle with regards to API. No, it doesn't mean. I just wanted to show you that these are the offerings. Now, some people, they say that we don't offer the APIs. We just provide you platform to develop. I know force.com, they provide you, or there is a one or two other tools also, they provide you drag and drive kind of a build your own application concept, where you just drag an application over, like you say, create an application, add a few workflows, add a few approval workflows, add a payroll cycle. So you can just drag and drop and make your own applications. So where you get in a platform to build your own applications, and force.com is one of those kind of a platform. So it's not always the APIs to make your platform as a service, but I just wanted to show that what Google is doing or what force.com is coming up. Okay, for Dilip, the question is example of IaaS, and what we are going to cover: Amazon Web Services, Rackspace, Terramark. Those are the cases, and even Microsoft Azure are now coming big bang with for the infrastructure service model also. So those are the cases for the infrastructure service model. Amazon is pioneer for the infrastructure service. They are the leader, market leader in infrastructure service model, but they also do have a lot of offering for the platform as a service model also. Okay, so moving ahead. So when you make a SaaS or PaaS or IaaS, what do you mean by the pay-as-you-go model? So it would be like if you are making a SaaS, normally this is case where how do people charge back? So it would be like in a SaaS scenario, they normally charge per user basis, because if you taking a case of Gmail, you take a license of Gmail service for 30 users or 50 users, and that would be per user basis. So whatever the users you're taking. If you're going for a PaaS case, it would be more like how much you are storing or how much data transfer you are making. So based on that, you are making the case. While in an infrastructure service model, like what Amazon is doing, they would be like whatever the virtual server you are getting, that's a hourly basis, they would be charging, or whatever the data transfer in or out, or whatever the storage you are making, based on that, they would be charging. So this is the case where if you want to make your own cloud, you can charge back the customers based on this kind of a concept. It's not mandatory to follow this. These are the samples. Okay, so a few simple advantage and risk. Again, I'm not going deep dive, it's pretty known. But if you go for IaaS, it's an on-demand infrastructure. The risk part would be security. Security would be because you are providing your infrastructure which is not available to you immediately. You may not be able to touch it, right? It's not physically available to you. How do you make it highly available? How do you capture the risk of the data persistence or the failover part? So those kind of scenario, how would it take up? In a PaaS, the worry for you would be vendor lock-in. So you are using Google App Engine, you want to move to the Microsoft Azure or the force.com, you cannot move it. They will have a different kind of APIs, different kind of concepts. So that's not possible for PaaS. Same is the case for SaaS. From the Gmail email service, you cannot go to the Outlook service easily, right? So For the SaaS, good part would be it's a reusable services available to you. So these are the simple benefits and risks for the different kind of a cloud computing. A very important slide. Okay. Yes, Shashi has a concept like, is there charging for per tenant? Now, cloud is a tenant based only, Shashi. So if I as a Axis Bank buys a service, it's Axis Bank is buying a service completely from that. Now you can make it that, okay, if I am offering my business service, I'll be giving you for 100,000 fixed amount. But that doesn't make a good case because you are not going a major service, you are not charging back on that usage. You are just giving on a lump sum. It's like a normal service provider like what Infosys is doing or Wipro is doing these days. That they take a service and deliver software to them. So this is what that would be case. It's not an ideal scenario, but nobody can stop you for this. Okay, so a very important slide where and where we see if we are moving from a trend for a dedicated IT to the public SaaS, and what do you control, what do you lose, and this is a loser or the distribution of your control. I start with the case of the dedicated IT. In the dedicated IT, you have your everything within your own organization, within available to you. You can manage everything. So you have the storage with you, so you have the hard disk, you have the server with you, so you can do that. You can virtualize that server, you can deploy your application on top of it, you can deploy the database on top of it, and it will be completely managed by you. One thing which is shared is a network, because you do not control the network. Network is shared with you, like you are taking the service of Bharti Airtel, or you are taking from Tata Communications or from the BSNL, whatever you are taking. So that network is shared with you as well as that service provider. So that is the only share part. But in the dedicated IT, everything is within your control. But that would have its own limitations also, because you won't get the scalability. You have to manage everything, a managed service, how would you make everything? Now, there are a few cases also where people don't want to manage everything on their own. They say, I'll go to some service provider. Those are the hosting service providers. And there are a few available in the market like GoDaddy, and those are available, where they provide a hosting of a service. Again, GoDaddy is not the right thing. There are a lot of service providers like they will offer you that you can come and host your website on our service. We give you a complete dedicated server which would be hosted in their data center. So their server would be hosted in a hosting provider's environment. So again, in that scenario, the network would be shared for them. Storage would be again shared, because the storage is within the data center of the hosting service provider. Server is again over there. Now you can create a virtual machine which you can access from your organization over internet or over internet, whatever is the case. Then on the top of that, whatever the application you deploy or the data you host, everything would be in your control. But you see, from dedicated IT to hosting provider, you start losing some of the control. You start sharing the control. When you go to the public infrastructure service model, you don't control the network, because public IaaS providers, they do not tell where is their infrastructure hosted. So whether it is hosted on Europe, they will only tell it is hosted in Europe, or they will only tell it is hosted in US, or in US it's in a Virginia state. But in Virginia, where it is hosted, they don't tell it. So you don't know where is their exact location of the data center. So that's why the network is not in your control. The storage is not in your control. Server is not in your control. They just provide you a virtual machine. Now, once they provide you a virtual machine, you can deploy your application on top of it, and then you can deploy the database on top of it, and then it would be managed by you. So you have the application and data both in your control, but a virtual machine is shared, because that virtual machine is given by the public AWS provider. So if their infrastructure goes down or they do something, you may lose the control of the VM also. So the sharing of the control, or now the losing of the control started. You move to the PaaS model. In the PaaS model, same way as that, you don't have the network, storage, server. Again, the services which are offered, like API services I was talking about, or some of the applications, are not in your control, right? Because those APIs are offered by the platform provider. Now, okay, Babu says, please little bit slow. Sure, Babu, I'll try to make that. Okay, what will happen that in the platform as a service model, you don't control the network, storage, and server. Now you get the services also. So the services part, they offer as a APIs, like email APIs, SMS APIs, all those kind of scenario. It's been offered with the platform as a service model, so you don't control it. It's a shared with you and the organization. Now using those APIs, whatever the application you make is not in your control. A good point by Shankar is VM is not there. Yes, because it's not in a PaaS model, there is no virtual machine. They just provide you a development platform. In PaaS, they provide you a development platform, and on top of that, you create your application, right? Using that. So you create the application for that, and once using that application, whatever the data you are making would be completely on your control. It's not within the PaaS provider's control. If you go to the SaaS model, in the SaaS model, you don't control the network, you don't control the storage, you don't control the server, you don't control the services, you don't control the app. Take an example of Gmail. Gmail is a business service or business application offered by Google. You don't control it. What they provide you is they just use this service. Now, data part is also shared. Why? Because data is being managed by their service only. So whatever the email you are writing, whatever email you are getting is to their application only. So it is a shared. And the simple example you can feel like you are reading a mail from Gmail which says your friend has written a mail. Let's go on a vacation to some place. On the right hand side, you might see an advertisement from Gmail saying yatra.com. So they are analyzing your ads. Exactly. Shankar, right thing. So their analytics can use it for the ads. So they have the control of your data. And that's why the data is shared in a SaaS model also. So this is how you go from a dedicated IT to the public SaaS. You get a lot of advantages because it's an ease of use. You don't need to reinvent the things, much easier, much cheaper, but you start losing the control also. Now, I had a few questions. I'll just go up. Okay, Shashi had a question that distribution of control between service models or between deployment models. It's a service models. Reason I'm saying is because it's a IaaS, PaaS and SaaS. Here I'm taking everything as a public, so I'm not considering anything in the deployment part. Okay, so are you all clear with this slide? And it's a very important to know because when you move ahead, this is very important aspect to know further. Moving further. Deployment models. I talk about the public cloud, private cloud, and a hybrid cloud. Now, in the public cloud, it would be like a mega scale infrastructure. It's a unlimited, virtually unlimited resources available to you. It's a pay-per-use available across the world, sold publicly. It's a multi-tenant application. While in a private cloud, it's a finite infrastructure because it's infrastructure you are procuring on that, and you always charge back to the line of business or the end users of your organization. Now, access is limited resources that must be managed by line of, because you need to manage that resource also. Okay, I'm coming to your question, Dilip. So you would be managing the resources also. When you are making a private cloud, you need to do on-demand kind of thing or self-service. How do you monitor? How do you fail back? How do you take a backup? Everything should be taken care by you. So your management headache would be more in a private cloud, but it would be much secure because it would be completely in your control. Now in a hybrid cloud, again, it's a mix of the two clouds. So in hybrid cloud scenario, if you see, it's a mix of the public and private. So something which you have hosted in the private within your organization, like your secure data, and your application or web server is hosted in the public cloud, and they both are connected through a virtual or VPN tunnel or some SSN kind of scenario. So only your application server can access your data through that VPN tunnel only using that secure protocol. Nobody else can access that. This would be making your hybrid cloud. Now Dilip has a question that what about the security in last slide. So in that aspect, security would be, see, when you lose the control, you tend to lose some kind of a security also. You always worry. Something which is in your full control is always, you feel it's more secure. So something which is not in your control, you feel it's a little less secure. Now, for that aspect, people will always feel then in that aspect, cloud is not a secure model. That is not the right, because cloud providers do understand your pain also, because they also know that you are hosting some application for security purposes is very important. So they do take care of your security aspect. They would be ensuring that your security is always be taken care of. They are going through different kind of audits for the associates. They would have some kind of access only. They would not be able to access the some infrastructure. They would even not mention that where the data center is. They provide some kind of a security mechanism for your end user also, so they can do that part. So they would definitely take off security. But at the end, see, it's in your cloud, it's on the internet, so anything could happen. Now in the past we had cases of like LinkedIn's data was stolen, PlayStation's data was stolen. Um, Recently Truecaller, that's one application which stores the data, their database was stolen. So those kind of a scenario could happen and your security could be breached. So you need to understand that part. So, and that's why if you are too much worried about your data, you should keep those data in your infrastructure and host only secure data or the app server in a public part over in a public cloud. Right, Dilip? Should we move ahead? So the sample benefits and risks for the cloud models would be, so like what is a public, private and hybrid cloud model? In the public cloud, the benefit would be that it's too cost effective. It's a cheaper part, much effect cost here. While in private, you need more compliance, you need more control. But at the same time, you need more management tools. How would you be doing a chargeback? Are you really getting return on investment? So you are investing a lot of infrastructure. Are you really getting after that or not? While in the public cloud, the limitation would be data migration, your security, lack of control. Those would be points. If you go for a hybrid cloud, it will have the risk of the both. At the same time, you can say it can have a multiple point of failure. So it can have an advantage of both as well as it can have a risk of both. So based on what you are hosting when. One point to worry is it's a multiple point of failure. Your private cloud can also fail or public cloud can also fail. So you have to balance with that. It doesn't make the hybrid cloud as a bad part. It's definitely good. You have to manage it in a well manner. Okay, a few economics would be, again, that's a person says that if you are going in a cloud or if you are going with your in-house IT. So there is a case where you procure some server, which is around, I believe it's a large server of around $64 cost or something like that. And that would be costing you around 68 cents per hour in Amazon. At the same time, it would be, when you are going for in-house, you would be procuring only once. So it's coming to you $9,600 one-time procurement cost. Now you make it to 3 years cost, it would be coming 36 cents per hour. But generally, if you see the cloud, if you remember before also, optimal resource utilization, and that is the funda of the cloud. So resource would be optimally utilized. And that's why generally they say it's based on trend analysis, your resources, you normally overestimate your resource, because if you're buying a server, you need a 2 GB RAM server, but you tend to go and buy a 4 or 6 GB RAM server. Consider there would be more requirement in the future, there would be more load, so you would buy more. So your resources are optimally used only 40% in-house, while for cloud, since it's using the virtualization techniques, everything, it's a 80% normally utilized. So your effective cost comes down to 85 cents per hour. Now your power and cooling cost, in cloud, you are not paying for the electricity. So while in-house, you are paying for the electricity. That is a very important part. So comparing that, plus your administration charge, they normally say that when you are doing administration, what you are doing in a cloud is 10 times more what you would be doing in in-house. Because cloud provider takes a lot of kind of a scenario like a chargeback, management tool, monitoring tools, patching, those kind of things are already taken care by the cloud providers. So your management would be much lesser over there. And comparing this, your cost would be coming from 86 cents to $36. So your cost effective ratio is much higher over there. And that's why they say, even if I'm not counting your real estate cost, which is very high these days, your annual maintenance cost, your admin part, your data center utilization, everything would be coming up there. So your total cost would be much higher than what is coming out. So cloud would, in most of the cases, would be coming cheaper to you. Now that's not always true, I would say, because the cloud is always cheaper. Cloud would be right fit when you have a real scalable requirement. If you have a static requirement and you are using your resource optimally, like 80% even your in-house, sometimes in your in-house would be much cheaper also. So you would be better that you need to do rough math and then you have to come out what is the right fit for you. So what are the key characteristics of the cloud computing? Agility. So that's one of the things. I just have a question before I move on. What are the major known reasons of cloud failures or hardware or hacking? Again, they don't say the main failures, but I'll come to you. And there is a slide available for that. What are the reasons for the security breaches for that? I'll show you that. So in the key characteristic would be the agility, where it improves the user able to rapidly and inexpensively. So more resources when you want, elasticity part. When you need, the resources available to you, on demand part. Much cheaper. Then public cloud is much cheaper. They charge you back only as you go model, so it's a cheaper part. And it's a device and location independent. So ubiquitous network access, right? Or broad network access. You can access from that. Multi-tenancy advanced give you optimal resource utilization. You have the more utilization, more efficiency of that. Centralization of the infrastructure also, that lower cost. So these are the key characteristics. Some more like reliability. Cloud, people would question that why is more reliable. But the reason would be the cloud providers, the public cloud providers, when they provide, they do take kind of the reliability. So Amazon simple storage service provides 99.99 kind of a durability, because they do the lot of the in-house backup, the replications and everything being taken care of. So the loss of the data is very less. The scalability part, infinite resource available to you from public cloud. It's a sustainability. So more your resources optimized, more resource utilization, more efficient system. So that's why it would be more sustainable model. And it's a virtualized resources again, because cloud would be based on the virtualization techniques. A few use cases would be a typical use case where the cloud would be right fit for you. So infrastructure transformation, where you want to transform your in-house IT to cloud computing. So all your storage service you want to move to the cloud, some of the servers you want to move to cloud. SaaS model, you want to take the Gmail service like a WebEx service, GoToMeeting, the collaboration tool like the Google Talk or something like that. So different kind of scenario. Development and test, a very nice case where you want to use it for development and test. So you are using for development, you are using for application where you have a resource available, and you are hosting an application on a 64 GB RAM production server. Now you want to test a load balancing or a load testing of the application with the same 64 GB kind of a scenario. Now either you have to procure similar 64 GB RAM server, or you can do it in a test part in a cloud, where you procure the same 64 GB RAM server in the cloud. You would be running only for 10 hours for your testing purpose, and you are paying only for the 10 hours. So pay-as-you-go model will help you for doing the development and testing part. A hosted solution, you can host your applications over there. A content delivery network, Amazon provides a cloud front which would make the delivery of your static content like your media files or image videos much faster. Netflix, I'm not sure you have heard about that. In US, most of them you must have heard. Netflix is hosted on Amazon Web Services, and all the videos which are being streamed through the Amazon Web Services, so content delivery networks. High performance computing. When you want to make a high performance like a cluster compute units, you want 128 GB RAM machines kind of scenario. That's available with the cloud. You can do your proof of concepts. You develop some application, you want to show the demo to different people. You can do easily on the cloud. On the backup part, you can take a backup. So you are having your application running in your in-house. You can just keep on taking backup at a regular interval to the cloud. So just for a durability purpose. A disaster recovery. So you are having application over here, and you want to host on cloud, so whenever your application, in-house application fails, it would keep on serving from the cloud. So that's also a case for the disaster recovery option. Hybrid cloud or virtual private cloud, those are the scenario again, are the cases for the use case for the cloud computing. Technology useful for the cloud. So if you are a programmer, you can work with a different kind of technology. It can be Java, .NET, PHP, Ruby, doesn't matter, any programming language. The cloud providers give you options. You develop your application and then make a SaaS, PaaS, or if you want to make your own AWS, then IS skills like a Windows administration or network administration, virtualization would help you to make your AWS also. Cloud has also got the open source movement also. Reason would be that people are coming like you have a vendor locking, you cannot move from one vendor to another. So OpenStack is one of the scenario where you can make your own private cloud. Using OpenStack, it provides the APIs for that, completely virtualization for that. There is a Cloud Stack, there is a Cloud Foundry, Puppet Labs for this management part, Eucalyptus, which provides the APIs in Amazon API formats. So open cloud concept is coming up, which is like open formats plus open interfaces about the concept. Means open formats would be, there would be standard formats which all cloud providers should be following, and then they would be providing the interfaces which could be used by the different services. So you can use those interfaces to call that service of the cloud provider. Okay, now the main part or the important part. Okay, a question is how to determine whether a private or public cloud is good for telecom billing systems. See, it would be based on your own requirement, I would say. You need to understand from your customer how secure is the data, and are they okay? Because if you just take an example, you want to host that application on Amazon Cloud. Amazon provides a scenario where you can host in a much secure way. You can do kind of a different kind of a security mechanisms. You can make a complete secure provision. But sometimes client does not trust the cloud. They say, no, I don't trust the cloud. It's not in my control. So they may not like to go to the cloud. Currently, there are a lot of scenarios also, like Nasdaq. Some of the application of Nasdaq are also hosted on Amazon Cloud. So, okay. Shashi just asked me in question with the Sudhir. The last question was from the Sudhir, where he asked that how to best determine whether private or public cloud is good for telecom billing systems. And then Shashi asked that telecom billing make it public. So the scenario would be, say, you have to make a choice whether it's a public or private based on your requirement. Now, if you want to go for a private cloud, it can be good. But what is your scalability need? What is your cost? Are you ready to invest a lot of cost or not? So those would be question coming up. And you have to go case by cases basis. Not everything fits for everything, right? So not each suit is not fitable to everyone. It's based on cases, you have to make a decision also. Now coming to cloud computing concern part. So there was a survey a little bit back where they said 70% of the companies with over 1,000 employees have not yet started cloud. This was, I believe, it's almost in 2011. The survey was, and the reason was they say that they're neither engaged nor evaluating. This scenario has changed a lot of these days. It is now, I would believe, 72. I would now come down to 30-40% of them. They have started, they're implementing the cloud, but they do still have the problems. And what are the concerns they have would be loss of control. They don't see the control, like we saw the distribution of control. The integration, how do my enterprise or federated authorization, how my associates from my organization can access the cloud, or how would be authorized, how would my legacy system would be able to interface with the cloud applications. Interoperability, if I want to move from one cloud to another cloud, how can I do that? Accessibility part, where I would be, how can I access the applications over there, whether would it work with the all UIs, performance, reliability, security. Those are the definitely concerns people are having for the cloud. And same way you would be having the business surprise, like if a cloud is down, there is a forensic data, like if my data is deleted, is it really deleted by cloud or not? Consequence of creative distractions, like somebody, it's a multi-tenant system, one tenant injects some virus, would it affect the complete cloud infrastructure if the cloud provider has taken care of that or not? So those kind of a scenario could come up, and those are the concerns people are having. Now, so if you see the security breach, that is for the cloud computing, there is a security, there's a major reason for them, and then the people not going to the cloud is that they worry about the security highest. The second part would be performance, because they see that if its cloud is hosted on the internet, it may not be having a so good performance. But I tell you, your cloud is as fast as your internet, because when you go to the Amazon provides a tremendous bandwidth, a tremendous infrastructure, but it wouldn't be as fast because you are accessing from your Bharti Airtel, which is having a 512 kbps only. The cloud would be little slower for you also. So your cloud would be as fast as your internet. Okay, so in the security issue, going little ahead on that part, this is the question that Amit had asked, that's what are the major known reasons of cloud failures? And Cloud Security Alliance is an organization working for the making standards for the cloud security. How would they, and they have identified 7 top threats for the cloud computing. And those are the abuse and nefarious use of cloud computing, insecure interfaces, malicious insiders. And these are the 7 reasons they have identified that due to this, your cloud could fail. And they have written a very good PDF also available that, which would identify that what is the reason for this. They have complete given description of this, and what are the mitigation plan for these 7 points also. You can always Google that 7 security threats by Cloud Security Alliance, or even you can go to this URL when we share the material with you. So you can try out that. It has a very good detailed article about this. So I'm not going in a depth about that, but you'll definitely get more benefit when you read this. So if I just summarize the cloud computing part, so the positive part is the cloud is a cheap, definitely it's a cheaper part. It's a scalable, it's a on-demand available, it has a very small startup cost, but at the minus part, it's still not mature. I believe by 2014-15 it would be much more mature, because people still worry about the security, people have the worry about the lock-in, people have the worry about the security. So those are the definitely a minus part on that. And based on that, that's what Sudhir, you can make a call. What is the plus? What is more plus for you? Based on that, you can make a call. Should I go with the private cloud or public cloud? And you can make a right case for the cloud computing. So some of the recommendation for the cloud computing would be, you manage the shift from product to service. So you're making a product. Now you should offer it as a business service. When you want to make your own cloud offering, you should offer as a cloud business service. You find out what are the different pricing models for that. You set up as a value proposition for adopting a cloud for computing. So why should people adopt your cloud offering? Work with your users to understand their SaaS requirements and offer them. Establish and demand right as a consumer for cloud services. So those are some of the recommendations for cloud computing when you want to make your own cloud offering. Again, we will start with using the cloud offering. And so before I go ahead, so this is all about the cloud computing we talk about. So cloud computing, what is the cloud computing, the different models and all together. And this is the head start I wanted to give you. So when you are entering a new world of the cloud, you are entering the world of Amazon. But Amazon itself is a prime offering infrastructure service model of the cloud computing. So our first topic of the today, cloud computing, I break to end here. I am open for a minute for the questions, and then we'll move to the web service. We'll take definitely a short break in between. I understand that it's not easy to digest 3 hours of a technical session and theory. As a student, even I used to worry that, and I always worry for those you also. We'll take a little break, but bear with me. The session definitely will go a little long, so it may happen, but I'm sure you will enjoy this. So I'm open for a questions. I'm opening for a minute for a question. Post your questions. I will immediately move to the Amazon because we have a lot of things to cover still. So Amit has a point that let's take a break at 8:30. Amit, I'll take a break at some logical point. Definitely, it may not be 8:30, but 8:40, 8:45, somewhere around. I'll definitely take around that time. Okay, I believe that's no more questions. So I hope you all are enjoying the session. Now we will start the journey to the Amazon Web Services. Today we are going to cover about what is Amazon Web Services, overview of the Amazon products, the basic keywords for the Amazon, a security mechanism, and tools then for the Amazon Web Services. So Amazon.com, or rather Amazon as a company, you all might know as Amazon.com, and for the people in US, you must be knowing what is Amazon.com. That's a service being offered by Amazon where it's a consumer or retail basis. There is another service from the Amazon.com, is a seller business. So as an end user, you can always sell your things from the Amazon.com. So you have a product like a watch company, you can sell, you are a small retail supplier, you want to sell your products, you can always sell on Amazon.com. Now in India, we have a Flipkart.com, similar concept from the Amazon, so you can do that. The third option from Amazon is which is coming up very good, and it's a leading and it's a growing day by day, is Amazon Web Services, which is IT infrastructure business from Amazon, or infrastructure as a service model offered by the Amazon called Amazon Web Services. And a few of the products listed here, and Amazon has the offering for the infrastructure service model like a networking offerings, storage services, elastic compute cloud, compute services, content delivery services. At the same time, there were some of the past offering like the database services, payment services are also with the Amazon. And we will see most of the service, not most, all of the services of the Amazon in a brief today. Now, why Amazon? I'll start with my example, which I like the most. I take the example of a CNN.com very frequently. So I take an example like Obama, the American team killed Osama, and Obama come and announced that, okay, guys, we have killed Osama, and America is free from the terrorist threat. Now, what would be the people's first reaction? They would be either tuning to the TV or they would be tuning to the website to read the news. So I take the case of the CNN.com. The CNN.com has a normal user hit of around 100,000. Again, just a hypothetical number from me. 100,000 users coming regularly from CNN. So that's a blue line you can see here. that there would be some 100,000 users normally regularly using their application requirement. Now, suddenly, Obama announced, okay, we have killed Osama bin Laden. People flooded to the CNN site, and the CNN traffic from 100,000 keep on going 200,000, 300,000, each reached to 1 million users, almost 10 times, because everybody was curious what happened behind the doors, what was the reason, how did they kill, everybody was going there. So their infrastructure, which was able to capable enough to serve 100,000, now they had some scalability available, so they could serve up to 200,000 or 500,000. Now the request is 1 million users. What would happen? There is a likely chance that infrastructure would fail over there because it cannot sustain the load of the 1 million users, because they don't have the capacity plan up to 10 times. They would have planned up to 2 or 3 times. Now what could have they done over here? One of the options would be that they might have, from the 2000 when or 2002 I believe, when Obama came to power, they might have anticipated that one day he will kill Osama and our site would be flooded with the more traffic. So let's plan from the beginning, and we might have a 1 million hit someday. So let's keep that capacity in a plan. So that's a blue line over there. You see, they would have a plan something like that, and then it would be an ideal a scenario for them where they would have a lot of idle infrastructure, where normal hit is 100,000, 900,000 infrastructure is normally idle line. But it could serve them when there is a huge peak, and that could be benefited for them. But that's not a good case, right? Because you are wasting a lot of infrastructure, you are wasting a lot of cost. Now from 2001 to 2013, there would be a lot of infrastructure upgrades. So you need to keep on doing those infrastructure upgrades, those maintenance costs. Everything would be keep on coming, and you don't like that, right? So the solution for you would be, what can you do here? Using cloud. So you have some requirement, would be like something red line of kind of a scenario, which is your requirement. So someday you have 100,000, in the night you have 50,000, then you suddenly have a 200,000, then again come back to 150,000. So your load is very variable. What you can do is, one is you procure an infrastructure of 100,000, then someday you procure infrastructure of 500,000. You keep on adding, but the most of the time your infrastructure would be idle. That is a green line showed over here. But if you go with the cloud provides a on-demand scalability or elasticity. So whenever the load increases, cloud would add more resources. Whenever the load decreases, cloud would reduce the resources. So you can see the red and the yellow line going in parallel. So that's your actual demand and what the Amazon would be doing with you. So Amazon can add more resources as and when required. They can reduce the resources as and when required. This way, CNN could save a lot of cost. So their traffic on their site would be for 2 days only. So they don't need to plan from 10 years before. They would be planning considering that whenever my load increases, keep on adding more and more servers. If it reaches and a certain threshold, keep on adding. Once it starts decreasing, keep on decreasing the server also. And Amazon provides the automation tools for that. So that will save you for that part. So that's why Amazon infrastructure would be much better for you. It would be helping you save a lot of cost here. Amazon, a tremendously growth story. And this is even I have heard from the one of the workshop from which I attended from Amazon in 2011, and even that this has been written on Amazon's one of the presentation also. They say that when Amazon.com was a leading retail provider in 2002, they were one of the largest online retail service in the world, and they were almost $2.76 billion company at that time. Whatever the infrastructure they must have, might be 500 servers or 1,000 servers, whatever they must have that time, those kind of infrastructure they are adding every day to their Amazon data center. Every day they are adding this kind of infrastructure. So now you can imagine what is there, and what I was talking about, the infinite infrastructure you can get from. And when you go for a private cloud, you may not be able to afford that. So that's why people go with the Amazon, because they provides you virtually unlimited resources. Now, how do I start with this? I think Amit or somebody asked me in the beginning, do I need my own account Amazon? Yes, you would need your own Amazon account. And how do you get an Amazon account? It's like you go to the Amazon site, you sign up for that. When you sign up for that, you have to provide your credit card. So you provide your credit card information over there, and you sign up for whatever the service you want to use it. Now the thing would be, Amazon would just validate your card. So they may post you a $1 or 60 rupees or whatever Indian rupees charge on your credit card just to authorize that. they will not charge your credit card at the end. So they will not call your bank and they'll not get same amount from your bank. So at the first day or for a week, you will see the charge of a $1 or 60 rupees or whatever, now 70 rupees charge on your services over there. But same thing would not be in a real, they will be charging. It's just for your authorizing for the part. The good part would be Amazon would charge you only when you start using its services. So you start some server and you start using it, you launch a virtual machine, you using it, you would be paying for that. Unless you start some service, Amazon would not charge you. The good part again coming up is Amazon offers a lot of free services. So they offer some kind of resources which you can access freely for up to a year. So which would help you do all the demos, all the POCs or all the learnings without incurring any cost. And we will see what are the services available to you on free. So you can try with that. So you need to register with Amazon. Even our Edureka site has a document available. How can you sign up with Amazon? But you can always use that. Or you can use the free service for that. Right, Amit? Thanks for that your comment. So this clarifies your cloud. Very important definitions from the Amazon. Note out these parts. I would be, when we are going in our session, this kind of a definition would come on the day in, day out with you. AMI is a Amazon Machine Image, is your software configuration pack or a bundles of a software. Now what do I mean by? If you are familiar with the Windows, you might have heard a term called a ghost image. A ghost image is a kind of a scenario which would have some kind of a inbuilt software already available with your operating system. So you just go to the fresh machine, when you format it, you install that ghost image. So along with your operating system, if the ghost image is a office software, it has a security software like a virus scanner, those would automatically deploy part of that. Amazon Machine Image is a similar concept. It comes with a pre-configured or a bundled software available with it. So from AMI, you select an AMI, you launch a virtual machine. That virtual machine is called an instance. That instance is nothing but a virtual server available over the internet. Now the advantage would be, when you launch from the AMI, it would have all the softwares or the OS of that AMI available inside. So take an example, you have a Tomcat server or an AMI which is a Tomcat server, MySQL database, PHP installed with that, and Linux operating system. When you launch an instance from that, that instance or virtual machine would have Tomcat, MySQL, PHP already installed in it with the Linux as an operating system. Shashi has a question that apart from the Amazon, what are the other public cloud computing platforms? Now, Shashi, if you go infrastructure as a service model, the Amazon has a good challenge coming up from a Microsoft Azure. Microsoft Azure started with as a PaaS model, but now they're more focusing on an infrastructure service model. Then there is a Rackspace, there is a Terramark. Even in India, there is a Tata Communication which offers that. That is for infrastructure service model. On a platform as a service model, we already talk about that. Would be like cases like a Force.com, Google App Engine. While on a software as a service model, you have a Gmail, GoToMeeting, WebEx, the Salesforce. Those are the options available. Correct? Okay. So coming back to our AWS definitions. Sorry, I keep on jumping because I keep on getting a lot of questions, so I keep on jumping over there. But we'll continue with our link. So you, from your AMI, you will launch a virtual machine that is called an instance. From an instance, now when you have an instance, you need to make a data also persistence. Persistence means you have some database server available in your virtual machine. Whatever the data is stored in database, you want to make it a persistence. How can you make it a persistence? For that, Amazon provides a concept called a volume. A volume is nothing up. You're a USB drive, a plug and play USB drive kind of a scenario. So you can connect that volume to an instance and you can make all data persistence over there. So even if your instance is terminated or lost, your data would always survive that and it will be persistent. Now, the advantage of volume would be, as I said, it's a plug and play USB drive. So today you have added to one instance, you can take it back and add it to another instance, take it back and add it to another instance. So you can always copy the data, make the data available across different instances, make data more persistent. So that's the concept of volume. volume is nothing but a storage service provided by the Amazon to make data more persistent. It's a plug and play kind of a device. To make data more persistent, more durable rather I would say, the Amazon provides a concept called snapshot. So from volume, you can take a snapshot, and that snapshot would be stored in a more durable service called Amazon Simple Storage Service. Once it is stored in a simple storage service, it would be more durable, and the advantage would be from that snapshot, you can always recover back a volume. So that snapshot is always stored in a storage, but advantage of the snapshot would be you can always create another volume from that. So you have a one volume of 8 GB which is having some data to a database. Now you want to replicate data. How do you create another volume with the same kind of information? You take a snapshot, and from that snapshot you create another volume. Now we will talk much depth about the volume, snapshot and storage in the next Saturday session, that's a module 2. Today's focus would be more about the instances, that is a EC2, which we would be covering in the module 3. So she has a question where what is the lifetime of a volume? Volume is available as long as you want to. Unless you delete it, it would be available for you. It's a persistent storage. Yes, Shankar asked, it's a paid. Everything in Amazon is a paid service. So nothing comes free. Just note down the rule. Nothing comes free, but noting that Amazon also offers some free service. So use some kind of a small instance, use some kind of a little storage service. Those kind of a service is free for the first year. But apart from that, it would keep on costing you. So Shankar says, since I said it's a lifelong for volume, so as long as lifelong means as long as I want it. If I delete it, it would not cost me. So lifelong means it's as well as long as I want to keep it. Amazon would not delete it for you. So if you delete it, it would be not costing you. If you keep it, it will be costing you. Dilip has a question, what is the difference between volume and a snapshot? Volume is for a persistent storage, and from volume you make a snapshot. Snapshot is nothing but some kind of a compressed format which would be stored in a storage service called Simple Storage Service in Amazon. So advantage would be that you can always plug and play. So if you say example like you have a USB drive, you attach to an instance, so that is your volume. Now you take complete data of that volume, you zip it and you archive it and you do it in a format. So that would be like a snapshot. Now from that snapshot, when you attach another volume, you copy complete data to the another volume. So that snapshot would be used to create new volume. We will see in much detail about the volume and snapshot in module 2, but this is just to clear a doubt. I hope it clarifies your doubt. Okay, so what are the standard use cases of the Amazon would be the backup and archive. We saw that when you want to store your data over there, you want to take a backup of that. It's a very good for the application hosting. You can use any of the application over there. We will see in today's demo. It's a very good for the media sharing when you want to share your media. Instagram, you might have Facebook purchased it. Instagram is using Amazon Web Services. Netflix is using Amazon Web Services. Media distribution, so content distribution is also that. The academic computing, a lot of research lab across the USA are using Amazon Web Services because they want to use Amazon Web Services in such a way that they can use Amazon for their research purpose. So they need some high computing processing. So they need 128 GB server just for 5 minutes. For them, the Amazon comes very handy. Very good for a search engine, for the social networking. I think the Zynga was using, now Zynga has moved to their own cloud, but Zynga was initially using Amazon. The scalable application, that's an ideal scenario to use for Amazon. And for SaaS and PaaS hosting, so you want to make your own SaaS or you want to make your PaaS, you can use the Amazon. Going further, a very good concept to note is the regions and zones. Amazon EC2 provides the ability to place instances. Now you know what do I mean by instances, a virtual server in multiple locations. Now what do I mean here is by multiple locations means Amazon has a multiple data centers across the world. It has 9 data centers across the world, and those are called regions. Those data centers are regions. Now, does it mean each data center means a region? No. A group of data center in certain part of a continent is called a region for them. So Amazon has 9 data centers. They are in US East, that is in North Virginia, in US West, that is in North California, in Oregon, in Australia, in Sydney, Australia means in Sydney, in Tokyo, Singapore, in Ireland, and in South Polo, that's South America. They have 8 major regions available. Now these regions would have more than one data centers. The data center could be, means they are called availability zones, and availability zones means they are like a virtually separated data centers from the Amazon. Now virtually separated means they would have a separate electric power, they would have a separate network service provider, they would have a separate physical servers. So it may happen that two availability zone, it may, I'm not saying it is, it may happen that two availability zones like availability zone A and B, they both are part in a same physical location, but they both would have a separate kind of a electricity supply, they would have a separate kind of a network supply. The advantage would be, so if one of the electricity supplier goes down, or one of the network service provider goes down, or another service provider infrastructure goes down in one scenario, the another availability zone is available for you, and that would enable your application to be highly available. So Amazon's concept of zones and regions are very important. A region would have a multiple availability zones, and all the services are Amazon as per region only. So the whatever service we go now in a 2-3 slides, they all would be as part of the regions, and within regions there would be multiple availability zones who are serving your requested. So for you, when you are designing an application, you always try to design your application which is to, or deploy your application which is near to you. So you are in a US East part, you try to deploy your application in US East region, while if you are in India, you try to deploy in a Singapore because it's the nearest region to you. The reason would be it would have a less latency, so performance would be better for you. Now an interesting question from Shashi, why not in India? I believe the India is not a too good growing market for Amazon. Amazon see much more value in the US and Europe and all that, and they have a high usage from those countries, and that could be the reason. Again, I am not the decision maker for Amazon, so I don't know, but I believe that is the reason, because when I spoke with one of the representatives of Amazon, similar question I asked him also in 2011, and I said, why don't you have a data center in India? And he said that India is in their mind and it's in their global focus area, but it's not in a top priority because they have a China and other where there the user base is much higher, and that is why they would be trying to focus more over there, and then they would come to India. Again, I may be right, may not be right, but that's the reason. One more, the region would be the US government cloud. That's for the where you want to create an application for the US government. You have to follow certain standards. Based on that, you have to follow certain security standards and everything. So Amazon has created another region called US government cloud. It's not available to everyone. This region you have to request Amazon, and then it would make available for you. Apart from that, the 8 regions are available to you, and they have a multiple availability zone. So US East has a 5. West has a 3, West 2 has a 3, APAC, the Australia has a 2, so different availability zones are available to you. So remember the concept of regions and zones, it's a very important, and going forward we will see also in a demo the regions, but keep this in mind because that what makes your application highly available. I mean highly available because if one region, one data center availability zone goes down, does not mean the second availability zone also goes down. So you can always fall back your application on the second availability zone. Yeah, there could be a scenario like a tsunami case where your complete region goes down. In that case, you can always make your system more high available by making a disaster recovery plan, making your application also available in a different region also. Right? So Amazon characteristic, availability and reliability. It's a highly available system due to this availability zones and regions concept. It's a more reliable because it provides a high durability, high security, all the standards. It provides a unlimited power, unlimited infrastructure, so it's a much scalable, elasticity. The performance is excellent. If you want to download, I have downloaded a lot of things. You go to the Amazon site, I launch an instance, and if I try to download, you try to download a Tomcat server from your internet service provider, you must be working on 500 kbps or 1 mbps or something, 2-3 mbps. You try to download, it would take around 5 minutes or 7 minutes based on your speed. In Amazon, it takes a minute or less than a minute. It's a tremendous infrastructure available to you. it's a pretty flexible because it offers you a lot of kind of a programming APIs. We will see that it offers you a lot of options also. That it's a much secure in a way because Amazon, I would say why it's secure, I'll cover in that in upcoming slides. Now Dilip has a question, will it cost additional if we use dual availability zones? Yes, if you host your application in your multiple availability zone, it would cost you. So that's the trade-off you want to make, whether you want to make it highly available or you want to trade off your cost. So that would be the cost part. But as many zones you use, you mean to say, or rather I would say, when you are using multiple zones means you are hosting your application in multiple zones. So you are launching a one virtual server or instance from availability zone A, another server in availability zone B, and those both servers, so it's always available to you, and the load is distributed across those two servers. But you are paying for both the servers because you are using two servers over here. Amazon services. So a complete list of that. I think we can take a break now. We have a lot to cover today, but I'll take a logical break. It's 8:43 in my clock. So we'll take a 3 minutes break. I hope that's okay with all of you. Let's come back by 8:46 and we'll go ahead with all the services about the Amazon. So let's take a short break. And by the time I am open for the questions also till the time. So Shashi, I'm sorry, 5 minutes. Try to make it early. Reason only, we have a lot of things to cover. We are just halfway mark till, and even in the presentation and our demo is also pending. So I stretch and I know the people don't like a lot of theory. 3 hours or 3.5 hours of continuous theory is not good. Tough to digest. Sorry for that part, but yeah, try to make as early as possible. Keep on posting the questions till the time. Hey guys, are you back? Just a quick yes would help me. We'll start the session now. Just 2 yes, so everybody else, please, if you are in, just keep on yes. At least I need 50% participants. Great. Okay, and so I think almost all are here except, oh great, so most of you all are here. Just a question, I hope you all are enjoying. Any doubts till now? Are you pretty clear with how the speed, are you comfortable with the speed I'm going? Anything you want to have, any questions or concerns to raise now? Okay, great. Thanks for the feedback. So let's start with the services part now. Key aspect for today's session. Amazon Web Services. It offers this many products. Now we will start with the first would be computer networking. That is the middle in the first row. The middle part, computer networking. We'll touch upon most of the products briefly today. So first we'll start with the EC2, that is an Elastic Compute Cloud. It provides you virtual servers or virtual machine, what we call as an instances, that is a EC2. It provides you with virtual servers. Elastic Load Balancer offers you a load balancing services. So when you have a multiple users coming up and you want to distribute your load to multiple instances or multiple EC2 servers, you can use the Elastic Load Balancer. You can use the auto scaling. Auto scaling is a key aspect. So when you want to scale up your resources automatically, so when you have an increase in load, you want that when my CPU utilization goes beyond 50% or when my network IO increases more than 30%, add more resources, add more to EC2 instances. You use the service called auto scaling for that. So you configure certain triggers and parameters for that, and based on that, it would automatically add new resources for that. VPC is a virtual private cloud, is used to make your a hybrid cloud kind of a scenario. So, or even you can make your own private cloud kind of a scenario where you can, it would be your own subnet of the networks computers, which would be accessed through either your infrastructure or through a VPN token. You can configure that part. Elastic MapReduce is an Hadoop offering from Amazon. So it's a managed Hadoop services from the Hadoop Amazon. The Direct Connect is a network service offering from Amazon, where for US, Europe, and I believe in Tokyo, they have a service available where you can directly connect from the internet service provider. You would have a direct internet connection between Amazon data center to internet service provider to your organization. So you don't have to go through public internet. Instead, you would have a dedicated direct connect with that. Route 53 is a scalable domain name system. It's like a phone direct or the domain name service. It's like a phone directory of the domain name. So where it would be like you have a google.com that maps to certain IP address. That kind of a service is provided by the domain name system. And Amazon has an offering called Route 53 for that. Going for the storage and content delivery, Amazon Simple Storage Service is a virtually unlimited storage available to you. It's a kind of a storage for the static content. You want to store your pictures, HTML files, CSS files, PHPs, or the image files, videos, anything static content you can store over there. Elastic Block Storage is nothing but we talk about the volumes. That is called an Elastic Block Storage. It is for your persistence data storage. It is what used normally for your database systems or for data which you want to be more persistent. CloudFront is a global content delivery network which is offered through almost 40 plus edge locations available with the Amazon. So where you would be streaming would be more less latency would be. So Amazon has a 40 plus edge locations, including one in Chennai and one in Mumbai. So whenever you are requesting a data which is hosted on Amazon Simple Storage Service, a video, if you are accessing from India, it would be from Amazon Storage Service S3, it would be copied to the edge location of Mumbai and it would be served from there. If you are requesting from US, from Amazon Simple Storage Service, it would be copied to the edge location of US East and it would be served to you. So CloudFront is a content delivery network. You might have heard word called Akamai. Akamai is another offering. It's a direct CloudFront directly competes with the Akamai. Glacier is an archival service from the cloud. So where it's you want to store an objects in Amazon for a longer purpose which you don't need to access frequently, just for archival purpose, you can use Glacier for that. Storage gateway service is for integrating your on-premise IT with the cloud storage. So you have some data available in your in-house IT and you want to keep a backup of that data for disaster recovery or for any other purpose on Amazon cloud. You can use storage gateway. So in storage gateway, it would all keep on copying the data from your on-premise data to the Amazon Simple Storage Service or Amazon Elastic Block Storage. Amazon Import and Export is a service to ship the large data set. So suppose you have terabytes of data and you want to upload to your database in EBS or you want to upload to Amazon Simple Storage Service. Now if you start uploading from your internet, it would take days and it would cost you also a lot of money. Amazon provides an option where you can physically ship a hard disk or disk drive or CD DVD drive to Amazon Web Services, and they will copy the data to the specific location, means any directory or the Amazon S3 location you specify, they will copy there. So these are the storage and content delivery service from the Amazon. Now coming from the database, Amazon has a 4 kind of a database services. First is a RDS, that is a relational data service, that is a completely managed database offered by Amazon. So a database offered by Amazon like Oracle, MySQL and MS SQL. Those are the 3 currently database offered by Amazon which are managed by the Amazon itself. So you don't need to deploy the database, you don't need to manage anything. It's already pre-tuned or pre-configured with the right parameters for you. Also Amazon offers 2 kind of a NoSQL database. Now NoSQL means not only SQL, which follows the different kind of a key value or which does not follow the ACID properties of the RDBMS. So Amazon offers 2 NoSQL databases, DynamoDB and SimpleDB. Also Amazon offers a in-memory cache service like Memcache, that is called ElastiCache. Recently Amazon started, recently means almost 6-8 months back, a data warehouse service which is able to data warehouse up to petabytes of the data, that is called Amazon Redshift. So these are the services for the database. Also if you go on a deployment and management part, you have a cloud formation, that is on the right hand top side. The cloud formation is a template based Amazon Web Service resource creation. So where you would be creating it would be help you to create resources and deploy automatically based. So it's a pre-configured stepwise approach for you. CloudWatch is used for monitoring of your resources. You can monitor your EC2 instances, your RDS database, your EBS volumes, your auto scaling service, your load balancer. Those are the different kind of a service you can monitor with the CloudWatch. Data pipeline is orchestration for the data driven workflows. So when you have a data driven, so from one service you want to initiate the another service, you use the data pipeline. It's for the orchestration from one workflow to pass to the another workflow. Elastic Beanstalk is a direct compare, I can say, with the Google App Engine. It's a Amazon's PaaS offering which is available for the Tomcat, Java, PHP and .NET right now. Offers those kind of a 3 servers, so it would be taking care of your scalability, the management, all kind of a requirement for that. Identification and access management, that is an IAM, is for secure Amazon control. So you can create different groups, users, and define the controls for them so they can access as per that. Amazon OpsWorks is a DevOps application management service. So you can use the Chef or Chef kind of a scripts over there. So Chef recipes over there, and you can create the stepwise approach to deploy different kind of Amazon instances, the software over there. Cloud HSM is a hardware-based key storage for compliance. So where Amazon provides a hardware-based key to you, and for your storage compliance purpose, it is available to you. In a cloud application base, these are the more kind of a PaaS offering again from Amazon, where a cloud search is a managed search service for you. It's a kind of a Solar tool. If you have heard about Solar search, it's almost similar to that cloud search, which you can use to do a search within your application. Elastic Transcoder is for transcoding your application. So easy to use, scalable media transcoding, Elastic Transcoder for that part. Amazon simple email services is for sending email to the Amazon, email sending service from the Amazon, where you want to send a bulk emails. When you want to send the thousands and the hundreds of thousands of emails at a go, you use the simple email service. Simple notification service is available to you when you notify to the user. So some trigger has happened. Your load has gone beyond 50% of CPU utilization, or your network IOS increase certain. You can use simple notification system which can email you, or even in the US it can send an SMS also. Simple queue service is like a message queue service offered by Amazon. You might have heard called RabbitQueue or AMQP, ActiveMQ. This is kind of a similar service. So simple queue service is a queuing protocol offered by the Amazon. Simple workflow service is a workflow service for the coordinating of the app components. So when the one app function is completed, start the next function. The second task is completed, start the two more parallel tasks. So completely workflow management system. Like if you have heard called the word BPMN, that's a business process management notification. Similar kind of a workflow system available from Amazon. So this is the list of the, I would believe, almost all products of the Amazon. And we are going to cover these topics in our course, where this would be more like we would be covering S3, EBS, EC2, those kind of options with them. Also, we would be talking about the ELB, auto-scaling, the CloudWatch over there. Also, we would be talking about the management console, SDKs. What is that? That we would be talking about the RDS and the DynamoDB. We would also touch base, CloudWatch, and then we will little bit touch upon that part of the, we will little bit touch upon the Elastic Beanstalk and IAM over there. Now, Amit has a question, Cloud HSM. See, Amit, I would not go much depth about the Cloud HSM. It's a very new offering from Amazon. But what Amazon says that Cloud HSM helps you meet corporate, contractual, and regulatory compliance requirement, like for data security by using some kind of a hardware security module appliance. So you want certain kind of a hardware modules only for your organization. You can use Cloud HSM or AWS HS Cloud HSM for that. Going further, any doubt for this, or should we move? So these are the products. These are the major products of the Amazon, and I would believe it covers, I would say, 80% of the Amazon usage. So you would be using that. Going further, Amazon, how do you access the Amazon? So to accessing the Amazon, it provides, Shashi has a question where shouldn't I be covering any app services? No, Shashi, I would briefly touch upon the SES over there, but I would believe it's they have a very well documented about that. Plus, it would be coming in advanced topics. So when we start our advanced topic, we would be covering that, but we would not cover here in this session, or in the 6 modules. So to accessing the Amazon provides the 4 options. First is the Amazon Management Console, a GUI tool or GUI tool offered by Amazon, which offers almost all services except 1 or 2. So using that, you can use EC2, you can use load balancer, you can use S3, you can use the VPC, everything you can do with the Amazon Management Console. And it's a pretty easy to use tool, self-explanatory most of the tasks. You can do that. We will see the demo of the Amazon Management Console today. Also, it offers the web services based APIs. So it offers the REST and SOAP based APIs also for accessing your applications. Apart from that, Amazon also offers the Amazon command line interface. So you are a Linux fan, you are a Mac fan where you don't like to use the console. You just want to work on the command line interface. For those kind of users, Amazon also offers command line interface. So using that, you can use all Amazon services which are accessible through Amazon Management Console. And if you want to develop your own application which uses Amazon services, so you want to develop an application which uses Amazon Simple Email Service, or you want to develop an application which launches an Amazon EC2 instance or deploy an application on that, Amazon provides the SDKs for that. And Amazon has the currently available for .NET, Java, PHP, Python, Ruby, those kind of a programming language already supported by the Amazon for their SDK. So these are the 4 ways through which you can access your Amazon Web Services. Now, Amazon security part. So how would be the securities management at the Amazon? So how does the Amazon normally EC2 instance isolation would be working? The physical interface would be the physical infrastructure available from Amazon. On top of that, Amazon would have its own firewall. So anything which is going out of the infrastructure, so anything going out of the network and anything, it has to pass through this firewall. That is Amazon's own firewall, not in your control. So Amazon would put that firewall to ensure the data is secure. Nobody can access your data. Now, what would happen that on top of that, Amazon allows the users to define their own firewalls also. So that is called Amazon security groups. Now security groups would be kind of a rules you would allow. It's a kind of an ingress rule. Ingress means incoming rules you would allow. So any request, you open up ports for certain kind of a request. So you say, okay, open port 80 for my requirement. So any request coming from the external world, it would come through the network to the physical interface, then it would pass to the firewall, and then it would come to the customer one security groups. Now if that customer one has opened 80 port, then only it will allow to go to the ahead. If the customer one has not opened the security port 80, it would not allow it to go ahead. Second part after the security group, that is your virtual firewall, is a virtual interfaces. The virtual interfaces is like here. On top of that, you define your hypervisors. So you define the interfaces for the APIs and everything. So what is the call over there? And then there is a Zen hypervisor used by the Amazon, which you would be using it. And using that Zen hypervisor, Amazon creates the virtual machine or instances. So customer 1, customer 2, customer n is nothing but a virtual instance or virtual machine, which is an instance. Now, what would happen that whenever an instance is launched, Amazon also attach a virtual MAC address with each instance. So whenever a request is going out of that instance, a MAC address would always, that virtual MAC address would always be attached to that. And whenever the request comes back, a virtual MAC request would be always attached to that. So the advantage would be, if a request is sent for a one tenant, based on its MAC address, it would always be redirected to that tenant only. It would never be redirected to other tenant. So sharing of data would never happen because the data is separated tenant wise using that virtual MAC address. Clear? Going ahead. This concept of the security groups is very important. So how it would be working for you, the security part. So Amazon allows, taken a 3-tier application or multi-tier application where you have a web tier, application tier and database tier. For each, you would have a EBS volume or elastic block storage data available to you. You would, first you have a web application, which is your Apache. Your application tier is which is your application server, would have a Tomcat web server. Now in the database, you have a MySQL database, and then everything is stored on EBS volume. So what you would do is, if you go back to the previous slide, the customer one security group, that is a virtual, this complete firewall shown is in orange blocks. So this would happen that for web tier, you have open ports 80 and 443 only for HTTP and HTTPS. Now what would happen is that whenever you send that request on port 80 to web tier, it would be allowed to bypass. Shashi, I would come to your question. So it would be allowed to bypass, and if you are sending requests from any other port, that is 22 or some other port, it would not allow to access that web tier. So all your HTTP or HTTPS requests would be sent to the web tier. Then what would you do? Internally, for that application tier, you open the ports only for the web tier. So web tier would have some specific IP address. So in your application tier, you open the port 22 or 80 or 443, whatever you want to open for that special web tier only. So what would happen that any request which is coming from that web tier, only it can access the application tier on port 80. If the request is coming directly from the internet, it cannot access the application tier. Right? Now, same way, you have a MySQL database which is accessible on 3306 port. So from application, you open a port, security group port 3306 on database tier, which is having which allow only application tier IP. So any request coming from the application tier IP on port 3306 with the application tier IP is allowed to access the database. Any other IP is not allowed to access that. So now if any user wants to access the database or the application tier directly, they cannot access it. What about the admins? If the admin wants to access, they want to access the port 20, they want to deploy the application, they want to do. You can specify that, okay, this is my IP address, this is a fixed IP address for me. So only for this IP address, open port 22 in application tier. So I can do telnet or SSH over there and I can install the application. But apart from 22, do not open other ports. So this way, you would make your application much secure. So from outside world, no one can access you. So this is how you can manage the multi-tier security. Now coming to a question, so virtual MAC address is always part of HTTP request and response? No, the virtual MAC address will not be part of always of the HTTP request response. What would happen? That when the HTTP request comes to the physical interface, there it would be mapped with that virtual MAC address. And from that it would be redirected using that customer one and then it would be going back. And again, Amazon does not provide complete information whether that mapping is happening at the physical interface or virtual interface. So either at virtual interface or either physical interface, there would be a mapping for that MAC address and the instance IP. So the request is always coming for the HTTP request for the IP only. Now if you just take an example that MAC address mapping is happening at the virtual interface. So request would come that from HTTP access IP 10.10.10.1. So it would be coming to your physical interface, then firewall. Then it says that for the IP 10.10.1, it is allowing this 80 port, it would go ahead. Now virtual interface identify that and make it to the right MAP address, and then it would redirect request to the customer one only. It would not be redirect to the customer. Where this mapping happens, that is not shared by the Amazon. Going ahead, so Amazon also do take care of a lot of security standards. So Amazon has a lot of security accreditations like a SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3, PCI DSS level, ISO 27001. Now I don't want to go in each definition. You can always Google what does this mean by certification, what does it follow that. But if you want to know about more Amazon security, I would recommend go through aws.amazon.com/security. There are a few white papers available from Amazon and very good white papers to read. So I recommend, even after module 6, I would recommend the same thing. Go through those white papers. They should give you how Amazon is managing the security, how it's being handled, and how you feel more secure with Amazon. Now why Amazon? So Amazon has recently published a very good article that at aws.amazon.com/choosing a cloud platform, which says why should you choose Amazon? And for each point, they have given a very good reference for each description about also. I'll go briefly. So global infrastructure across 8 regions with almost 15 to almost 18 to 20 availability zones. It is available. Massively scalable, almost virtually unlimited scalable power available. It provides a content distribution with the almost 40 plus edge locations across the world. Managed DB service like the DynamoDB, RDS. Very easy to deploy and manage. It has also the big data offering with the database data warehousing service as well as the Hadoop with the EMR. Ecosystem for other products, software solution provider. So you want to make your own SaaS, you want to make your own, and important aspect, ecosystem of other products. Here it talks about a marketplace. Like you have a software, Amazon has a tied up with the big service providers. So they are tied up with the Microsoft, SAP, Oracle, and those softwares are available to you on a pay-as-you-go model. So a lot of SAP softwares, so you must be knowing SAP licenses must be costing something in the hundreds of $1,000s. Now those license, some of the modules, not all, but some of the modules of Amazon or SAP are available on Amazon on a pay-as-you-go model. Now recently data warehouse offering from SAP or BI offering from SAP is called HANA, which is very popular, and I believe it goes to up to $200,000 or $500,000 some license cost of that, which is available on Amazon as a $1 per hour rate. So if you use for 10 hours for your learning purpose, you would be paying only $10. You do not need to buy a separate license. So they have an ecosystem for Oracle, Microsoft. They have tied up with a lot of others like Informatica, and you would go for that. So you can go to aws.amazon.com/marketplace and you will find a lot of service providers. It is a flexible support model, so starting from free to the paid service. So free, it would take some more time to answer where the gold or platinum service where it would be available immediately to you. So different kind of a support models also available. Now why Amazon? A very good article recently published that was on a venturebit.com. I just got a reference from that. So just how big is Amazon? So in 2012, it was almost $2 billion company, which is anticipated to be almost double, 3.8 billion by 2013, while 2015 it is supposed to be 8.8 billion. Currently, it occupies almost 32% of our infrastructure service market. So can you imagine? It's almost 32% only Amazon and 68% of the rest of the AWS market. Now also about the capacity. In 2012, if you see at the bottom, there were almost 6.8 million users, or the hosting part over there, number of websites hosted on Amazon, while in 2013 it is supposed to be almost 11.6 million websites hosted on Amazon. So this is how it's growing up. And very good statistics again, where it says number of websites hosted on Amazon computers, where the 50% of the Amazon site is hosted on a US region, 9% in South America, 1% in Africa, 17% customers are from the Europe, 17% from the Asia, 5% from the Australia also. Now, so with this I end the session for the Amazon Web Services, and now we would be taking a specific topic of the Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud. I open for a minute for any question round, and then we'll move further. Any questions, any doubts? Okay, so we'll move ahead. Amazon EC2. Just a second. Yeah. Amazon EC2 is a web service that enables you to launch and manage server instances Amazon's data centers using APIs or available tools and utilities. So it provides you a virtual server to you, which is we know as an instance. It provides an instance to launch, and you can then manage the instance. You can deploy your application over there. The best part of the instance is it can be available in different sizes. It can start from the 600 MB, can go up to 100 of the GB RAM. So 600 MB to the hundreds of the GB RAM, it can go over there. Also, it provides the storage service also. That provides the two kind of storage, like a transient storage, which it terminates as long as the instance is available. The storage is there. When you terminate the instance, your storage is lost. Plus, you can make the data more persistent with the EBS volumes we talked before. What makes Amazon EC2 is different, that you use only the capacity you needed. So you need only you want to use only the 8 GB RAM, you want to use only 2 GB RAM, you want to use the 16 GB RAM, you want to use the 400 GB of storage. You use only that part of the requirement. And in future, when you want to increase that also, you can add more resources, either by increasing the memory or by increasing your multiple virtual servers. Now Shashi has a question, is Amazon EC2 AWS? Yes, Amazon EC2 is an AWS infrastructure service because it provides you virtual infrastructure. A few highlights of the Amazon. Amit has a question. So how storage in EC2 is different from S3? Amit, I would take in much detail in next module where we talk about the EBS and Amazon S3. Amazon EC2, just to give you in a brief one-liner, Amazon EC2, you can make it a data more persistent with the EBS volume, that is called elastic block storage. And that is for more like your hard disk where you store your operating system and file systems and database. While S3 is a simple storage service, is a storage service on internet for your static content only. You cannot have your dynamic content like your database files, your operating system over there. So that's how EC2 is different from S3. I hope it clears your doubt. So Amazon EC2 highlights. What are the main key components of the Amazon? It's an elastic compute cloud. you can grow up. So whatever the instance size you require, if you want to increase this storage service, you can increase the instance size. You can launch more instances if you want. It's a flexible. It's charges you in a pay-as-you-go model, and whatever the service you need, only you use that. It's a control service. So whenever you want to use it, use it. If you don't want to use it, terminate it. It's a much secure service because you can get the different groups, services, the key files over there. It's much reliable service also. So where you would be, it provides a 99.99 kind of a SLAs, and you can always rely, or even when you use the EBS, you can make the data more persistent. It has the pre-built AMIs. AMIs, we talk about Amazon Machine Images. So it comes with the thousands of pre-built AMIs. So you can launch directly an instance from Amazon. So you can get directly a Linux operating system, Windows operating system, Ubuntu. You can also get a multiple operating system with some of the software stack like the MySQL, Tomcat, PHP, means Apache. Those kind of, it comes with a lot of pre-built AMIs. Even the Amazon Marketplace, like you launch an AMI provided by the SAP, it will directly launch an SAP HANA for you. So there are a lot of pre-built AMIs available from Amazon. It's a pretty inexpensive. Charges you as per Go model, and it's a very easy to use and a much control cost. EC2 instance. How is an EC2 instance flow? So first you find an EC2 AMI to launch. So you want, based on your AMI requirement, whether you want to launch in a Ubuntu, you want to launch in a Windows, you want to launch in Linux, what you want to launch in that, and you find an AMI, and then based on that AMI you launch an instance. So you launch an instance from your AMI and it is available to you. Even when you launch an AMI, you install some software on top of that. So take an example, you take a fresh AMI and you of Linux and you install the Apache MySQL over there. Now you can create your own AMI out of that. So next time when you launch an instance from that new AMI, it will have Apache and MySQL already installed as part of that. Shashi has a question again, that is there any relationship between volume and EBS? EBS is a volume itself. So EBS is elastic block storage, which is stored in a volume only, and that would be covered in the module 2. So we are not focusing on volumes much today. I'll definitely cover in module 2 much about that. Now going about the EC2 instance lifecycle would be, how does an EC2 instance for Hey, I'm sorry. Are you all able to hear me? Okay, so I hope I was able to hear till the back part there where you can, did you get this last slide where you can create your own AMI and launch your own software, right? I said about the Apache and MySQL, you already have that part. Did you get till that? Hey, did you get the last part, last slide? Am I audible? Hey, am I audible? Hello? Am I audible? Okay, sorry, there was no message coming up. Okay, thanks all. I guess there was some pause between, so I even didn't get your message. Thanks all. So you all are, we are back. So we covered this slide. Okay, so now coming to an EC2 instance lifecycle. In EC2 instance lifecycle, what happens here is when you first call in an EC, you find an AMI, and then you call run instance method, or you from Amazon GUI console or Amazon Management Console, you launch an instance. When you launch an instance, the instance would first state would come in a pending state, where it would be the copying AMI. So from the AMI, it would be copying the bootable resources. So whatever the operating system, whatever the boot resources, that would be copying first, because AMI is always stored in a S3, simple storage service. So from there, it would start copying from there to Amazon EC2 service. Once it is started copying, then instance would come in a running state. So from pending, it would come in a running state. You can attach an EBS volume to it, and you can also assign an elastic IP. Now, what's elastic IP? I'll come to that point. Then when you don't need an instance, you just shut down the instance. So you terminate the instance. And when you terminate the instance, your whatever the transient storage would be, it would be lost, and then your instance would be terminated after that. Now, what would happen? There is one more stage. In between, if you see, instance is a stop stage. That is called an EBS back AMI. And EBS back AMI offers you one more better option, is where you can stop the instance. Now, what is an EBS back AMI? We will cover in today's session now. Okay, so going further, these are the different kind of Amazon EC2 instance types and sizes. So as I said, Amazon EC2 comes in a different kind of EC2 instance type sizes. So it comes in the small, large, extra large, micro, medium, extra large. Now look about this micro instance closely. It's a 600 MB RAM. It's a IO performance is low. It costs you pretty less, 0.02 cents per hour. Important part, this is part of the Amazon free service. Amazon Web Service provides 720 hours of free micro instance usage per month for 1 year. So you say 30 days in a month, considering, so 24 hours it is running continuously. So for 72 hours, it would be costing you zero cost for at least a year. Now, if you might ask me that if we have a month of 31 today, right? What would happen? My instance is running 24/7, and what would happen in the 31st month, 31st day? It may charge you as 2 cents per hour. But as per Amazon, 720 hours per month is free. Now, if you launch 2 instances, just take an example. How would happen? You launch 2 micro instances. So one instance runs 500 hours, another instance runs 300 hours in a month. So total running cost, total in a month you run 800 hours. So for 720 hours is free. So for rest of the 80 hours, it would be costing you, if it's a Linux instance, it would be costing you as 2 cents per hour cost. So micro instance is our go-to instance when we want to do our POC and a testing part. Now, as we said, Amazon has a different kind of instance types and sizing. So general purpose, they are called the Amazon instance families. So M1 and M3 instance families, they provide balance of compute and memory. So it's a standard instance. They are normally good for your, where it's a mid-sized databases, data processing, normal application hosting kind of a scenario. They are M1 and M3 over there. So if you see here, some of them are M1.small, M1.large, M1.extra large. Those are part of the M1 family. Compute optimized. Those are, if you see, C1 family, C1 and CC2. These instances of family offer high compute power. So if I go back, C1.medium, C1.extra large, those are the high CPU instance. So high CPU instance would have a more compute optimized instance, more compute power. In memory optimized power, it's something like M2 instances, which was not shown in the previous slide, is like they provide a more memory. So in that aspect, you would be having a more GB RAM. It can have up to 244 GB RAM of the instance also. In storage optimized instance, like HI1 and HS1, you get more storage service. So it can go up to 48 terabytes of storage capacity provide you. And in a cluster GPU instance, it provides a cluster computing. So they are good for the general purpose graphics processing units, a GPU. For the GPU purpose, Amazon provides a cluster GPU instances. So those are the different kind of instances. So based on your requirement, whether you need a high memory, you have a cluster processing requirement, you have more storage requirement, you have more CPU requirement, or you have a standard requirement. Based on that, you can select your instance types and size. Now, so we see about this different kind of instance family in 2 slides. So general purpose, again coming back to that, it has a instance types of m1.small, m1.medium, while the storage optimized are like hi1.4x large, hs1.8x large. Now see the difference. They have a vCPU and eCPU. Sorry, ECU. Dilip has a question. What is a cluster? Cluster is a group of machines. It's like a node of the multiple machines. So that is what called a cluster. And so it's not a one instance only. There were multiple servers running and doing your processing part. So where you have a graphic processing, you can always go and Google graphic processing, cluster processing. You would get more information about that. And that is what being offered by Amazon for this cluster processing part. So in the general purpose part, you would see that's a vCPU and eCPU. So one ECU, that's an elastic compute unit, is equivalent to 1 to 1.2 gigahertz of 2007 Optane or 2007 Xeon processor. So Amazon defines, so whenever Amazon giving you a virtual machine, it says this virtual machine, if you say I selected m1.large, this virtual machine has 4 ECU, means it has a 4 CPU capacity, or it has a CPU capacity of 2007 Optane of 4 CPU. And vCPU is nothing but a core. If you go and to the market, you buy a desktop, it's a dual core, multiple cores, 4 cores, 16 cores kind of a scenario. So vCPU is nothing but your cores of your hardware. So with this, if you go, like you see, from storage optimize, it provides 35 eCPU. So what would happen? It would have a 16 core into 2 ECU for each core. That would make total 35 eCPU for you. So if you take about the general purpose M3.2x large, it would be 26 eCPU, means you have 8 cores and 3.25 ECU. That's elastic compute unit in each core. So that would make total elastic compute units of 26. Now Shashi has a question, can I explain the ECU again? So if you, I'm not sure if you are able to read the last line. The last line says, one EC2 compute unit provides the equivalent CPU capacity of a 1 to 1.2 gigahertz 2007 Optane or 2007 Xeon processor. That means one ECU, when you go, it's nothing but your CPU. But that CPU is equivalent, Amazon has benchmarked against certain kind of a CPU in the industry. So what would happen? That in that Amazon would show that it has a one, or Amazon has a benchmark against 2007 Optane or 2007 Xeon processor of 1 to 1.2 gigahertz. That means one CPU, right? Now you say 13 ECU, means you have a, in that instance it has a 13 CPU capacity of 1 gigahertz 2007 Optane. If it says it has a 16 or 35 ECU or 35 elastic compute units, it means it is having 35 CPU capacity of 1.2 gigahertz 2007 Optane. Does it make sense now? Am I clear? Okay. So if we go ahead, there are the compute optimized, where we would have a more ECU power, more compute power would be there. So it would be C1.medium, large, and it could go up to 88 elastic compute units. While for the memory optimized, it would go having a memory up to 244 GB memory also available to you. Okay, so clear? Any doubts till now? Okay. Dilip has a question that vCPU versus ECU. vCPU is your cores, total core of your, if when you go into market and say I need a dual core, single core, 4 core machine. So vCPU nothing but a core. Now each core would have a some CPU capacity, right? So if I take an example, 8 core machine where each core has a 3.25 CPU capacity, it means that instance is having 8 into 3.25 means 26 elastic compute units. So 8 vCPU into 3.25 ECU per vCPU would make 26 ECU total. Amit has a question here that can you compare the ECU with vertical and horizontal scalability or some normal server? See what happens, Amit, here is Amazon does not benchmark those kind of results. Amazon just provides that for me, one ECU means equal to one CPU, and that CPU is my equivalent to 2007 Opteron 1.2 gigahertz 2007 Opteron CPU. So that is what Amazon provides. Now, if you want to benchmark that in today's market, there is some more CPU available, you can benchmark. So when you want to do vertical scaling or horizontal scaling, you can benchmark against that. But for Amazon, they say for us, one ECU means one CPU of 1.2 gigahertz 2007 Opteron. So what Shashi says, it's right. It's a logical division. Is it clear? Okay, so I'm moving further. Instance and image types. A very important aspect, you should remember all these points now. EC2 instance types. EC2 on demand. EC2 has a three type of instances. When you launch an instance, EC2 provides three kind of instance. When you launch a normal instance, that is normally an on-demand instance, which is like your pay-as-you-go model. So whatever you are using, you run for 10 hours, you will be paying for 10 hours. You run for 2 hours, you will be paying for 2 hours. You run for 15 hours, you will be paying for 15 hours. But suppose you have a 24/7 requirement which you are going to run for a continuous year. You feel that why Amazon doesn't provide some more options. So for that, Amazon provides an option called reserved option. For that, you give Amazon a binding that I would be running your instance 24/7 for certain period. So for that, you pay us upfront some amount to Amazon, say $50, $70, $200. That is a cost defined by Amazon based on different instance size. So you pay upfront one-time cost to Amazon, and now Amazon would charge you much lesser than on-demand price, since you have purchased you are using a reserved instance. So you are reserving an instance for you here. So it would be like you are paying upfront one-time cost, and then your one-time your instance running cost, which is like 0.08 cents for a on-demand instance, could come down to 0.04 for reserved instance. So every hour you would be paying only 4 cents instead of 8 cents of the on-demand, but you already have paid $70 upfront cost. Now, what is more useful, on-demand and reserved? That's just a simple math. In Excel, you can do a mathematical calculation that how many hours I am going to run this instance for a year. This reserve instance purchase is either for 1 year or 3 years. So I take an example of 1 year. So you can say in 1 year, I am going to run total 2,000 hours or 3,000 hours. Should I go for a reserved instance or should I go for something else? So if you, a general math or normal math says, if you are going to run for more than 2,500 hours in a year, you should go for reserved instance. If you are going to run less than 2,500 hours, now less than 2,500 hours means less than 60 days in a month or less than 2 to 2.5 months in a year, then you should go for on-demand. So if you are going to run more than 2.5 months or 3 months, it's always recommended to use the reserved instances. Third instance is a spot instance. This is like your eBay. So Amazon has a lot of bandwidth and resources unutilized available to you. So you can bid for that. So you say instead of paying 8 cents on-demand cost, I would be paying only 6 cents per hour for that on-demand instance. Advantage you would get is instead of charging 6 cents per hour, 8 cents, Amazon would be charging you less. The disadvantage would be if somebody outbids you, that say Amazon has a defined or predefined capacity available. They say I have a 50 instance available in this region. Now you are the 50th user. Now somebody outbids you and say I am ready to pay 7 cents per hour and you are paying only 6 cents. Amazon would automatically terminate your instance because somebody has outbidded you. So this spot instance is not useful for production use because it can be terminated anytime. But when you want to run some batch process for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you want to do some hands-on temporarily, you can use the spot instance. Shashi has a question. I wonder if Amazon has a real spot instance user. Shashi, Amazon do have and they have provided a test study where Amazon, the people from some of the US labs, where they are doing the huge cluster compute units and those kind of scenario they are using, those kind of a server would cost them $2 per hour kind of a scenario. Now they could beat that. I would be paying only $1 per hour, and I am using thousands or hundred servers. I am going to use 100 servers. Now they are going to run that batch process only for 2 minutes. The batch process would be running 2 minutes, 3 minutes. So for them, the spot instance is an ideal scenario for them. So Amazon do have a lot of spot instance users. Going further, Amazon EC2 reserved instance. I'll go a little bit more on that. So an EC2 reserved instance enables you to reserve some capacity. The advantage would be you pay low one-time fee and you save the on hourly basis. So how much it would be saving for you would be, so it would be much cost effective. It's a flexible. Why do it say flexible would be? Or because it is a marketplace available. Now what would happen that when you have a purchase and reserve instance, you thought that I would be running for it's a 6 months, so for me reserve instance is the advantage. You run for 3 months and then you don't like it. Okay, I'm not going to use this instance anymore. I'm terminating this application. You still have a lot of reserved instance bandwidth available. You can sell that reserved instance in Amazon marketplace, and that's a curious case which Amazon has started almost 4 to 6 months back only, but currently it works only in USA because it requires Amazon USA bank account, and the money would be deposited in bank account only. But that's a pretty flexible case you have available for that. Now the cost would be to show you how it would be. So your small instance, which is costing you around 0.06 cents per hour, if you go for a 1 year instance usage, you pay $61 upfront, you are paying 0.03 cents per hour. Now I'll do a simple math for you. So using my calculator, I am running 2000 hours into 0.034. That comes down to $68 plus $61 upfront paid fee I have paid. So if I am running 2000 hours in a year, my cost for a small instance would be coming around $129. If I do not purchase a reserved instance, so 2000 into 0.06 would be like $120. So if I am running only for $2000, reserved instance is a costly affair for me. I take a, because it's costing me only $120. If I take a case of 2500 hours, so for that 0.034 plus 61, so it comes to 146 cost. So if I am purchasing my running an instance for 2500 hours in 1 year, it's costing me $146. While for 2500 hours, 0.06 cost me $150 on demand. So if I am running in the reserved instance for 2500s, I start saving some money. So I'm running 2500 divided by 24. So I'm running for almost 104 days. So if I'm running for almost 104 days, I am able to save my money. So after 104 days or 103 days, my money would be much saver over there. So if you are planning to run more than 3.5 months, it would be much effective for you. So it's a simple math you can do, and you can purchase a reserved instance. If you want to run for 3 years, you can do another math and you can be much cheaper option. So are you clear? Again, a very important aspect. Reserve instance comes in 3 categories: light utilization, medium utilization, and high utilization. So in a light utilization, your upfront fee is little less because you know you are going to use only 2500, 3000 hours, something like that. In a medium utilization, you are using something for 6000, 8000 hours in a year. And in a high utilization, where you are going to use almost 11 months of the year or more than 10 months of the year, you should go for the Amazon for a high utilization instance. So low utilization, medium utilization, and high utilization options are there. Okay, Shankar has a good question here. How does bidding happen? I believe you are talking about the spot instance. So when you purchase a spot instance, you specify that how much you are launching, you are ready to pay upfront for this. So you know that this is the maximum cost, and you would be paying for how much money for this. So you say 0.08 is a standard cost. I am paying 0.06 cents per hour. So you are bidding for that, and if it's allowed for Amazon, it's lower than what Amazon expect, or it's higher than what Amazon expecting, they'll launch an instance for you. So while launching an instance, you can bid for that time. Now Babu has a question, as a technical guy, how it is useful to know these prices? Babu, it's very important, because normally when you are hosting on Amazon, one is a scalability part, another is a costing part. So you need to know, how could I save my cost while hosting on Amazon? So you host an application on Amazon and you keep on running 24/7 on-demand instance, it would be costing you a lot of money. So just technical would not help. A little your management skill, because you grow further, you need to think on different aspect also. How do you optimize my cost? So in that aspect, if you think about reserve instance or spot instance, this kind of a scenario, you would be able to save some cost. So that is why, though you are being a technical guy, you also play a role of a Amazon consultant. So when you are playing a role of Amazon consultant, to end user, you have to consult not only for a technical architect, you also have to give this kind of a recommendation also. Now, and I would say important aspect of the two AMIs, Amazon AMI types. Amazon has two kind of AMIs, EBS back AMI and S3 back AMIs. And be careful here, it's a very important aspect. Again, another 2 points to note, which you would be using multiple times. In EBS back instance, the root device of Amazon instance is an EBS volume only. Now, what is an EBS volume? We will talk in next session. But just consider a volume. Volume is nothing but a plug and play kind of a USB drive. It would be playing an EBS volume, and that's working as a root device. Now, when this type of instance is launched, Amazon automatically create an Amazon EBS volume and attach to that Amazon to your instance. So whatever the data you are storing there, it will always be persistent. So data would be always be persistent. Data would be much secure over there. Even if your instance terminates, you can set that your data would not be lost, means your EBS should not terminate. There's kind of a setting you can make. So your EBS volume can also survive that. And since your EBS volume is mounted as a root device, it would have one disadvantage. So when you launch an Amazon EC2 EBS instance, it will always be launching with your it will having some operating system, some file system, and that would, since it's an EBS back instance, it would always be in root device that's in EBS volume also. So when you launch an EBS back instance, that's a 10 GB EBS volume is attached to that, Amazon would charge you for those 10 GB. Because a root device of EBS volume is attached to that, Amazon would charge you for that. So you are being billed additional for that storage service. Now, is it good to pay for that storage service or not? We'll see in 2 slides. But you have to keep that in mind, because a root device is attached to that, it would always cost you. So instead of, in addition to an Amazon EC2 instance running cost, it would also be billing you for that EBS cost also. The second type instance is Amazon S3 or instance back instance. This is where when you launch an instance, a transient storage is available to you. So if I go a little bit more, I thought, okay. So over here, if you see your standard instance, I hope my screen is launched for you all. Yes, I can see. So what would happen here? If you see disk size, the third row for 160 GB, 850 GB, 1690 GB, something 350 GB, that is what a transient storage. For a S3 back instance, when you launch an S3 back instance, there would be a transient storage attached to that, and that would be having a file system or operating system over there. So you would be always over there. So this flexibility, it would be having you can manage your file system over there, you would be storing that. And yes, Shankar has a question, that's a good point. The disk here is not EBS. In S3 back, here disk is a transient storage. It is not an EBS. EBS is a persistent storage. So in S3 back storage, your S3 back instance use local storage as the root device. So it would be a local storage or transient storage. And when you may want to make some data persistent, so you in that instance, you have stored some database, you want to the data persistent, because if instance crashed, your data would be lost. So if you want to make data persistent, you have to manually attach a EBS volume. That EBS volume will not be a root device. It's just an additional drive. So it's like you attach an additional external hard disk to your CPU. The similar kind of a case would be you attach an EBS volume and that the data would be persistent over there. Now the difference would be Amazon EBS back AMIs launch much faster than the Amazon EC instance back instance. EBS back instance launch almost in 2 to 3 minutes, while the instance store back AMIs launch in a 5 to 6 minutes. Now another advantage with the EBS back instance is it's a very easy to create an AMI. So you just right click on the instance. If it's a EBS back, you just right click and create AMI. It will be available for you. For the instance store back, there are multiple steps involved and you will be creating. We will see the steps of creating AMI in next session. But the most important difference is here. In the most important difference is for S3 back instance, they do not have a state called stop state. So when your instance is launched, it would be in an initial in pending state, and it would come back to the running state. When you terminate the instance, it would be in a shutting down mode, and then instance would be terminated. While advantage here with the EBS back instance, when your instance is running, you can always stop it. Now stopping is nothing but it's like a hibernate mode. So when you stop the instance, it's like a hibernate in your Amazon or your Windows system. When you start back, it would come back to the same stage. Now what is the advantage of this? Take an example. You are running Amazon EC2 instance which runs from the 9 AM to 6 PM. Only you are using from 9 AM to 6 PM. So it's being run only for the 9 hours or 9 AM to 5 PM. So it's only running the 8 hours in a day. While if you launch an S3 back instance, you don't have a stage called stop state. So you in the morning you launch an instance, either you keep on running for 24 hours and keep on running for a months and months, and it would be incurring cost of a 24/7 up to days it is running. If you want to save the cost, then at every day at 8:30 AM you launch the instance. It would be taking 5-7 minutes to launch the instance. Then every day at 6 PM you terminate the instance. All data would be lost. Then you attach the EBS volume. You make the data persistence. That's a lot of headache for you. If you go for EBS back instance, at 9 AM you start the instance. At 5 PM you stop the instance. Next day 9 AM you start the instance. 5 PM you stop the instance. All data is persistence. You don't need to worry. Advantage is you are paying only for the 8 hours in a day. So if you consider the cost of running an instance cost for the smallest instance or small instance comes 6 cents per hour. So if you are running 24 hours, it would be costing you $2.50. While you are running for 8 hours, it would be costing you just $1 something like that, or 48 cents, something 50 cents like that. So what would happen here? So it's almost 1/3 cost for you, right? So 6 into 24 would be $1.50, while 6 into 8 would be 48 cents. So almost 1/3 cost for you. Now, as I said before, it charges you an additional EBS cost. That EBS cost is not so much. Amazon charges you 10 cents for 1 GB of the data. So for a month, your storage cost would be coming, if you have a 10 GB storage, it would be coming $1. But you consider, you almost save 80 cents in a day only. So in a month, you would be saving almost, what, $25, while you are paying only $1 additional for your EBS part. So this way, using EBS back AMI, you can save a lot of money. And that's why we recommend normally going with the EBS back instance. EBS back instance also easy to manage, easy to create AMI and all that. Now Shashi has a question. What do I mean by the data loss? Means recreating AMI. See Shashi, what happens in the S3 back instance when it comes to a running stage? Now I want to stop at the 5 PM. What would I do? I have to terminate the instance. So I terminate the instance at 5 PM. All data is a transient data. It would be lost. If I want to save some data, I have to attach an EBS volume and make the data persistent. Next day morning when I come back, 9 AM, I launch a new instance again from the AMI, attach that EBS volume again and get the backup. So this would be a lot of headache for me. In the EBS back instance, everything is in EBS, so data is persistent. You can start and stop. Does it answer your question, Shashi? Also, so when an Amazon EBS back instance is stopped, you are not charged for instance usage. However, you are still charged for the volume storage. That's what we talk about. So for every transition from a stop state, one example point to note here. In an hour, you start and stop instance thrice. Here, you have to understand, Amazon charges you for an instance for an hour. So in 1 hour, if you start and stop instance thrice, you will be charged for 3 hours cost. So if your instance running cost is 10 cents, it will be charging you 30 cents for that. Okay. Now, a difference between Amazon EBS and S3 back instance. A lifecycle instance, Amazon EBS supports stopping of and restarting, which is not available in Amazon S3, which is the two important point, key pointer I would say. Data persistence, data is always in EBS, so even it can persist the instance failure. Boot time is much lesser because it's boosted in 1 to 2 minutes, while it's almost 5 minutes for the Amazon S3 back. You can create an EBS volume up to size of 1 terabytes, while the instance storage is to normally 160 GB. We have seen some of the transient storage of the 1350 GB also, but that's for the larger size of instance only. Otherwise, for small instance, it's only 160 GB. The location of Amazon EBS volume, Amazon EBS is Amazon EBS volume, while it's an instance storage. Upgrade part is based on the kernel. If you are Linux based, what is the kernel and instance type you are selecting, then it would be over there. So while here upgrading means upgrading OS and all that. So instance attributes are fixed for the life on instance. You cannot upgrade over there. The charges are two charges: instance usage charges as well as Amazon EBS volume charges. While here it's an instance usage charges only. AMI creation, it's much easier. It's just a single command line call, while here it would be a lot of multiple steps involved part of that. Okay, a very important aspect to note. So EBS back and S3 back instance. What is an EBS? We'll see much detail over there. A little caution for everyone. We are almost reaching our 3 hours timeline, and I said earlier I'm a little bad at the time management because I go in much of the depth and I try to cover a lot of topics, and since we have 6 modules only, so I stretch up a little bit for the first 3 modules at least. So please bear with me. We may extend almost 30-40 minutes more. So I hope you are okay with that. Hey, thanks Amit for the feedback. But I'm sure at the end of the day you would not regret that, because you would be learning a very good stuff from this. So please stay tuned if possible. The demos would also be very interesting for you. Okay, so EC2 instance addressing part. Amazon EC2, whenever an instance is launched, provides different kind of a instance addressing. There would always be a private IP attached to that instance. There would be a private DNS name also attached to an instance, and there is a public DNS also attached to an instance. Now what does it mean? Whenever an instance is launched, there would always be having a one private IP and private DNS. So whenever you launch an instance or you launch in multiple instances within a same region, those instances can talk to each other using private IP. This is kind of, if you think about LAN kind of a scenario or WAN kind of a scenario. So that's what you would cost a private IP. You can communicate over there. It would be little faster and cheaper also. Why cheaper? I'll come to that point. And Amazon also provide a public DNS name also. Now the advantage of public DNS, because you want to connect to that instance, you have to connect using some public IP or public DNS. So for that, so you have deployed an application on Amazon instance. How do you access that? Using that public DNS name. How do you connect to that instance using Telnet? Using that public DNS name. So when you want to connect to that instance from the internet, it provides a public DNS name. When the multiple instances in same region want to talk to each other, they can use the private IP. Now Amazon charges you for the IO part also. IO means whatever the request going in and coming out. Now they do not charge for the incoming part, but they charge for the outgoing part. So whatever data is going out, they charge you. So now if you are, take an example, you have an app server hosted in Amazon US East 1 region, database server also hosted in US East 1 region. Now if they both talk on a private IP address, it would be either free based on the availability zone or much cheaper, because they are talking on a private IP address. If they are talking on a public DNS, it would be costly because all the requests would be going through the internet. It would not be through the Amazon internal network. So all the data coming out from the database and even going out from the instance, your app server instance, would be through internet. So it would be costing you. Plus, it would have more latency because it is going over the internet. It is not through the internal IP address. Clear? So that's a three kind of instance service addressing service offer: private IP, private DNS, and public DNS. But whenever you launch an instance, there would always be a new public and private IP available to you. Plus, whenever you stop an instance and start an instance, a new public DNS assigned to you. That public DNS is never fixed for you. Now take an example, you have an application hosted on Amazon. Now when that application is hosted and you want to run that application, how do you connect to that application? Because you have given a public DNS, you connect to that. Now if you stop an instance, you start an instance, or something happened, your public DNS is changed. So how do you access that application? You cannot keep on changing your IP all the time, because there would be a lot of the end user who are accessing that application. For them, Amazon provides an option called elastic IP address. This elastic IP address is nothing but a static IP address assigned to your account only. That IP address you can attach to your Amazon EC2 instance, and it would be then fixed IP address. So you launch an instance, you assign that IP address. Now tomorrow that you terminate that instance and launch another instance, you assign that same IP address to that new instance. Whenever your end user are accessing, they will be just accessing through that IP address. So they can always access that. Amit Singh is a good question. That's what is the difference between private IP and private DNS? It's the same thing. It's just the same difference of the IP and DNS. DNS would always be resolved to some IP address. So that's because sometimes some servers work only on DNS, some servers work only on IP. So they provide both the things. Otherwise, they are same. Now, how much the IP address cost you? So IP address, when you get Amazon, does not provide any IP address immediately. You have to request Amazon. For one account in each region, you can get maximum 5 elastic IP address. You can get more IP address, but you have to request Amazon. Now, if you are not using the elastic IP address, Amazon charges you. Means you are having an instance running and you have attached an elastic IP address to it. Amazon does not charge you for elastic IP because you are already paying for the instance running cost. But if you have no instance running and you are an IP just lying idle for you, which is a non-attached stage, it would be costing you 1 cent per hour. But sometimes this is a very important cost, because in future when you launch an instance and you want to assign the same IP, you need to keep that IP address. Now an important aspect for the free users, elastic IP address is not free. So when you are going with the free data usage, elastic IP address is not free. So we don't recommend using elastic IP address. Again, it charges you 1 cent, so it's okay for you. But if possible, don't use it. If you want to experiment, you can always use that. Nasser has a question. What is the difference between URI and URL? URI means Uniform Resource Identification, while URL is Uniform Resource Locator. Now I think that would be Google. You would be giving a much better answer over there. How they are related to private IP address, public DNS, and public DNS name. So see, public DNS would be whatever the name given to you, like something you have a public IP, elastic IP address. I take an example. You have a public IP address. So that is something 10.23.45.45. That would also map to some public DNS. That would be 10-23-45-45.amazonaws.com, something like that. So an elastic IP address will also map to some public DNS name also. So that IP address would have a public DNS and which would be accessed from that. Now when you make an URL, so URL would be having some public DNS part of that. That it would be having either IP address or public DNS, plus it could have some more. So you are accessing an Apache based application which would be having an index.html or some more. If you are having a Tomcat something which would be having some web application context, that whole thing would make your URL for that part. Now going on URI and URL discussion, I would believe that would be little out of the scope, so I'm not going here. If you still want to know more, you can Google or you can post in our support forums and I would be more than happy to answer on that aspect. Otherwise, I hope your question for the private IP address and public DNS is clear. Okay, So going further, elastic IP address. Elastic IP address are static IP address designed for the Amazon cloud only. So an elastic IP address belongs to your account, and you can have a maximum 5 elastic IP address. You have complete control over there. You can request that and you can release that. If you want more than 5 IP address, you have to request Amazon to get more IP address. But that gives you more high availability. Because how high availability? Suppose you have launched an instance in US East 1A zone and attach an elastic IP to that. Now that zone A is down, you launch another instance in zone B. So you can attach the same IP address, because IP address is as per the region, it's not per the zone. And all zones are part of the same region. So when you launch in another zone, you can attach the elastic IP address. So you can achieve high availability with that. So for the end user, your end URL is always same, or your URL is always same. Now how the elastic IP address, the same example what I was talking about. So in a case here, you have a web server which is having the IP address of the 1.1.1.1. That's an over there. That's elastic IP address over there. And it also, the database server is having 10.0.0.1 and 2. Plus it is having connected to internal IP is 10.0.0.4 and 10.0.0.3. Now what would happen that when user is accessing from internet, it would be accessing from the internet through 1.1.1.1 or 1.1.1.2. Now if one of the instance goes down, you can easily attach your 1.1.1.2 to new instance. Yes, but that 1.1.2 has a new private IP. Once it has a new private IP, yes, you might need to make a change in your database because it is over there. But important aspect here, your server is calling the database, not the vice versa. So for them, your server will always be talking on 10.0.0.1 and 10.0.0.2. If your database goes down and you are launching a new database server which has a different IP, then yes, you need to change your IP in your server also. Another very good component coming up is a security group. If you remember in our Amazon security aspect, I showed about what is a virtual firewall. That is called a security group. So when you launch an instance, you define a virtual firewall that instance through a security group. And when you launch an instance, you can assign multiple security groups to that. And for each security group, you define a rules for that. So which would be like what are the incoming traffic for that. And whenever that security instance, this group is set to new instance, it would have those rules automatically applied to that. And we'll see that in demo. Important part is a security group is for the EC2 cloud. Okay, Shashi feels I went a little bit faster. Shashi, it's okay. I'll go in much depth about that while I show in a demo. And while I'm not emphasizing here because I want to show in a practical purpose what it would look like. So I'm sure it would be, you would be more than happy when you see the demo about this. In this EC2 security part, there are 4 options. Security group is for EC2 Classic as well as for the EC2 VPC also. So VPC is a virtual private cloud and EC Classic is normally on-demand instance part. Now with the VPC you can define inbound and outbound both kind of a rule, while with the EC2 Classic you can always define inbound rule only. So what kind of a data should come inside the instance? It will always allow to go any kind of data out of the instance. Amazon, when you have an Amazon account, it will always have a one default security group over there. You can create your own security group, which we will do today. So again, I show you in the practical purpose, but what I was talking about is when you create a security group, you define a rule. So this is an inbound rule for a security group named Web App Security Group, which would be like allowing which IP address should access my instance. So here it is opening for everyone. So 0.0.0.0/0 means anybody can connect to my database, or sorry, RDP. RDP means my connecting to Windows instance from any IP address. If I want to restrict to a certain IP address, I can provide that 192.168.2.0/24. That is the source, and port is 3306. That's my database can be connected from this IP only. So you define the inbound traffic from either from across the internet or from the specific IP range only for that port. Amit has a question. Are security groups also applicable for S3? No. Security groups are only for the EC2 instance and RDS only. RDS means Relational Data Service from the Amazon. So Amazon Security Group defines the firewall rules for the EC2 instance. We saw about that. They are designed to control who can communicate. So default security group in each region is allowed. Therefore, you need to create a new security group that you will use for your production instances when you want to do that. Another good point, access credentials. So this is a process of authentication with the Amazon. So when you send and request Amazon provides a different kind of access credentials. So access credentials comes with a, when you create an Amazon account, there are various kind of access credentials available for you. First is Amazon provides your username and password to log into the Amazon Management Console. Second is they provide a access key and secret access key. Those access key and secret access key are used when you want to use the SDKs of the Amazon, or you want to use some of the tools available, external tools available. You want to connect to that, you can use that. Or even if you want to call from the REST base or SOAP based calls, you can use those access key and secret access keys also. Also, Amazon provides a certificates, X509 certificates, which are used for your command line interface. Those certificates you can download from the Amazon section, which are useful for you configuring your command line tools. And when we provide you the hands-on guide for the today, one of the section describes how to download those X509 certificates and how to set up in your environment to run your command line tools. Also, when you launch an instance, Amazon provides an option called EC2 key pairs. Those EC2 key pairs are like a public and private key pair kind of a scenario. So where the Amazon allows you a PEM file to download you. So you download a private key file and a public key stored in Amazon. Amazon never stores a private key. So whenever you want to connect to that instance, you have to use that private key only, and Amazon will decrypt it using the public key stored in Amazon. Suppose you lost that key pair, you would not be able to access that instance. I know you would be a little confused on this aspect about the key pair. So when I show the demo again, security groups and key pairs are an important aspect which will be covered more depth in the demo. So pardon me for that, but you will see more in the demo part. So Amazon as account identifiers, each Amazon account is identified by a 12-digit unit number. That's this is your account ID, and it is very important. So when you want to share your some of the resources like your EBS volume, your AMIs, you can share using those account IDs. Also for some of the Amazon S3 resources, when you want to use the CloudFront and you want to generate certain secure URLs, Amazon provides a canonical user ID that also you can use that. Amazon EC2 key pair, as I was talking about, is a key pair. We will see again in demo. A brief point over here is a public and private keys known as a key pair. They are with the EC2 instance only. When you launch an instance, you attach a key pair to that instance, and when you create a key pair, Amazon allows you to download that private key file. The public key is always stored in Amazon. Amazon does not store your private key file. So if you lost your private key file, you cannot connect to that instance again. And how this happens, we will see in a demo. So again, Amazon EC2 key pair. Each time you launch an EC2 instance with a Linux, Unix, Windows instance, you assign that key pair to that. You can have up to 5,000 key pairs per region, and they will have a unique name for that region. Again, going a little bit on Amazon key pairs enables you to connect using SSH, or for even to generate your Windows password using RDP, you can use the key pairs for also that. Now going to the Amazon EC2 tools. Amazon provides different kind of tools. We saw that first is a API tools, application package interface. So that is for the SDK part, you are using that. You can use that. Or even the command line tools. So command line tools are available. You can run from the command line. When you are a Mac and Linux user, you can use those command line tools. AMI tools are special tools available which are part of the CLI tools only, But when you want to create an AMI, Amazon used to provide AMI tools. Also, there are some people have developed their own application to use the Amazon. So those are the graphical tools. Amazon Management Console is one of the graphical tool offered by the Amazon. But across also the market, there are few tools available like Elastic Fox, which is a Firefox based plugin. So if you are using Firefox, you can use Elastic Fox. So you provide your access key and secret access key, and you can use the Amazon console much easier way. There is also Cloud Studio. There is S3 Fox for accessing your Amazon S3 objects. Also for a management as a service option where you want to manage your resources, you start, stop, scaling part and everything. There are a few services available across the market called Write Scale, Scalar, Service Mesh. Those are also available in the market. Amazon EC2 command line tools. These are the API tools offered from the Amazon. There are two, rather in the command line tools, there are two parts. One is Amazon API tools as well as for the AMI tools. AMI tools are specially for creating new AMIs for S3 back instance only. While API tools for the command line interface, when you want to run an instance, stop an instance, they are majorly from the Java base. Now Amazon has started moving to the Python based API tools also. So Amazon Management Console, how it looks like, we'll see in a real life demo now. This is Elastic Fox. It's the same as a console. It would be working on that. So EC2 Tools and Instance, these are some of the command line tools, how you can set your command line tools. And when we provide you the manuals, you would get this thing available over there. So I'm not going in the steps. So till now, this is our theory session. And it's almost 3 hours and 15 minutes. Now we start the demo part. And in the demo, we would be seeing today I'm sharing my screen. Just a second. Okay, so I hope you are able to see my browser, my command line explorer and everything. Sorry, it got stopped for a second. I'm back. Okay, so we will start our demo today. What are the topics we are going to cover? How to create a new instance key pair, that's a public key and file. How do you manage a security group? How do you launch an instance? How do you connect to a Linux instance from your Windows machine? How can you associate an Elastic IP? Also, we will see how can you deploy an application on Amazon EC2 instance. We will see all those cases today. Okay, so this is my Amazon Management Console. When I go to the Amazon, aws.amazon. Oh, by the way, sorry. Before I go to that, any questions till now in the theory? Pretty clear? Any doubts? Anything you want to know, or it's pretty clear? Just a comments would be happy. Good to know. Okay, so we are going with our Amazon session now. This is you go to normally aws.amazon.com. This is how you start up, and so if remember, your cloud is as fast as your internet is. Okay, so it will be this console, and then I can say my account or console, or if I allow the page to load, there would be another option here. to go to the console. I can go to AWS Management Console directly now. Sorry, somehow it's a little slow today. Okay, so if I am a new user, you can say new user and you can sign up. Our team has prepared a very good document also. How can you sign up as a new user and what do all things you would provide that. So that are again available in a Edureka forums over there when you sign up with over there. So when you sign up over here, I'm just going to the Amazon console now. I have my user ID password available. Now these are the services available from Amazon. Remember, we talk about each and every service. We talk about the Direct Connect, EC2, Elastic MapReduce, Route 53, VPC, CloudFront, Glacier, S3, DynamoDB, Elasticache, RDS, Redshift, CloudFormation, CloudWatch, Data Pipeline, Elastic Beanstalk. Sorry, I'm pretty fast, but I just wanted to show we talk about each and every services, and that's briefly we'll be talking. Now today's focus EC2. So we are going to the EC2. Now before we go to this is an EC2 dashboard which would show how many instances are running, how many my volumes are there, how many key pairs are there, how many my groups are there, security groups are there, everything. One important aspect to know here is I have a regions. If you remember, we have a 8 regions. These are the regions with Amazon EC2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You see the government cloud is not available to you. You have to request specifically. If it's approved by Amazon, then only you can access the Amazon government cloud. Otherwise, these are 8 public regions available to you. And see, just example, we are in a US East North Virginia region. It shows I have a 0 instance running, 5 key pairs and 5 security groups. If I go to US West North of California, it would have a complete separate set of a instance number and everything. If I go to Oregon also, I think Oregon has some numbers. So it would have a 14 key pairs, 9 security groups, how many instances running. So every region is completely independent from the other region. Now, first thing we would do is creating a security group. So we will go to on the Amazon EC2 console. We go on the left hand side and click security groups. Do let me know if something is not visible to you or you are not getting clear. Immediately ping your question here. It's still loading. Sorry, some of my browser intents, one of them is not behaving right today, so it's taking a little longer than expected. Otherwise, comparing it's pretty fast in routine. Dilip wants to know if somebody from this session is taking AWS certification. Dilip, I'm not much aware about that. I'm sure, but at the end of the session, you should plan for this. This session provides a right background to go for certification. So if anybody else is also planning to go for a certification, you can coordinate with Dilip through our discussion forums, and you can collaborate more. Okay, so certificate. Now I'll start with the security groups. I'm sorry. So we'll go and say first create security group. It's a name. I say just say Edureka in session 2. Babu has a good question at what role we can play after finishing this course. See, after finishing this course, Babu, you can play a role of AWS architect, AWS developer pretty easily. You can also go for the Amazon certificate because this course would cover the most of the basic criteria about the Amazon. I'm just giving a rough description and I say yes, create. Now this is my Edureka session 2. I just defined the inbound rule. Inbound means what are the IP address on which port this instance whenever it's allowed to on this port. So currently I want to connect through SSH. I want to do the telnet. So I would be connecting. Since I'm not sure about my IP address, I'm opening it for all. So 0.0.0.0/0. I'm adding that rule. Once I add the rule, I still need to apply it. So if you see a little bit bottom, it says apply rule changes. Shashi has a question, what is /0? So that is how you define the subnets of your IP address range. So 192.168.2.0/24, it can be /32, it can be /0. /0 means all IP address of that subnets are allowed. If it's a /24, there is some defined subnets over there, it would be allowing over there. I apply rule change. So now I can connect whenever I launch an instance with this security group. I can do SSH to this instance because I have opened 22 port for it. Okay, so this is how you define a security group. Clear? Now we are going with our key files. So I go a little bit bottom on the left hand menu and I say key pairs. In the key pairs, you can create a new key pair. This key you can attach when you launch an Amazon EC2 instance. Now, advantage of attaching this key would be that whenever you try to SSH this instance or when you are generating a new password of a Windows, it would ask this key from you. And this key would be in a private public kind of a scenario. Well, private key would always be with you. Public key would be with Amazon only. Amazon never stores the private key. So if you forgot to download, you did not store it correctly, you lost it, you can never connect to that instance. It's a very important you store this key correctly. So I say create key pair. A key pair name Edureka _ session 2 only I'm giving. And when I say create, it would, if you see at the bottom, it has started downloading a PEM file. I'm not sure if all can see. I'm just opening show in folder. So I'm just copying it. So you all can see. Edureka _ session 2.pem file is a my key file generated by Amazon. This is a private key. Public key is stored in Amazon. Amazon never stores this private key for you. So if I lost this file and if I launch an instance with this, I'll not be able to connect it. An important aspect to know, this is in .pem format. So PEM format works very well with the Linux and all this operating system. If you want to connect to that instance from Windows, you have to convert to a PPK format. It should have extension called .ppk. So for that, there is a tool available called PuttyGen. There would be multiple tools available. I'm just going with the PuttyGen. So I run the tool called PuttyGen. I hope you all are able to see my screen. I open the tool PuttyGen, and in PuttyGen I say load. In load, I will select my PEM file. That's Edureka underscore session 2. I think screen is not loaded for you. So yes, you can see my screen. So I selected all files, and at the bottom, and then I said Edureka underscore session 2.pm. I open that, press the open button. It will tell me successfully imported foreign key OpenSSH SS2. You all can see this, that window now. Press OK, and then press the button save private key. On the right hand side bottom you see save private key. First you load, press the load button, then you second is save private key. When I say save private key, it would tell me, are you sure you want to save this key without a passphrase? I said yes, go ahead for now. Okay, so I give the name Edureka underscore session2.ppk file. So this file is saved. If I go to my keys again, you can see there is a ppk file now available, and this ppk file when we will be using it in future. So are you clear with the concept of the key files as well as what is about this part? Dilip has a question, SSH1 versus SSH2. Dilip, I did not get your point. What was it in reference to? Oh, in PuttyGen. It is when you want to generate putty in a what kind of SSH format you want to generate, when you are storing, what kind of a way you want to store. So those are the options for them. We are going with a pretty simple for now. You can try whether you want to use SSH1 or 2 over there. Amit Singh has a question. How are the keys and IP address are related? I will show that when I see. Shashi Singh is a good point, and thanks for sharing that. Dilip, Shashi mentioned that SSH1, SSH2 is a difference of 256 bit, 128 and 256, right Shashi? I believe that is the difference between SSH1 and SSH2. Okay, so now we will see, we will launch an instance. So what we will do is, I have clicked on the instances on the left hand side. On the left hand side you can see instances I have clicked. It will show me if my instance is stopped state because it's an EBS back device. Now remember, we have a EBS back and S3 back, so I can stop the instance also. I'll just go and say launch instance on the top. It will launch in a window for me. So I'm selecting the classic wizards as of now, and I'm saying continue. In this scenario, I have to select an AMI. Now remember, oh, that is screen. Yeah. Now I have to select the AMIs. Remember I said that Amazon comes with a lot of AMIs, a lot of customized AMI available to you. These are the AMIs provided by Amazon. This is Amazon Linux, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, SUSE Linux, Ubuntu Server, and each would be costing differently. So Red Hat would be costing little more than Amazon Linux because it involves the Red Hat license. So Amazon Windows Server 2008 and everything would also be costing a little bit more than your normal Linux because it involves the Windows license cost also. Now, sorry, yeah. So coming to here, you can also select your own AMIs if you have your AMIs available. I have my AMIs, I can select that also. You can select the communities AMIs also if you have communities AMIs, or from Amazon Marketplace, like I said about SAP HANA and all that. You can also select that also. So these are the options. We'll go with the quick start. Now an important aspect to note, you see a star next to select button. At the bottom it says star free tier eligible if used with the micro instance. So if I launch a micro instance with this star, it is allowed part of my free tier. So you can use Amazon Linux or Red Hat Linux or Ubuntu server, whatever you want to use. This AMI you can use, it is a part of your free tier. If you use this SUSE Linux, it's not part of the free tier. Go ahead. Now in the second screen, I will select provide the details of the instance. I can select the instance types, so I click on the instance types. I can select the instance. Currently I'm selecting micro, but you see we have a different kind of instance type size available. We talk about that also. This is part of my free tier. I am selecting that. I can select the availability zone also. If you remember, we talk about the availability zone 1A, 1B, 1C. I'm not providing any preference, then Amazon will launch in its any zone it would like. Now this is an important point, kernel ID and RAM disk ID. Those are the provided by the Amazon for kernel and RAM, and they are as bounded by the AMI. When you want to move AMI from one region to another, they will be based on this kernel ID. We will go with the default only. That's generally we go with the default. When you are a much advanced Linux user, you can select your own kernel and those parts over there. Okay, so continue. Now if you see here, it says root device is my attach automatically, because we are selecting EBS back instance, so it will be having a root device automatically attached to it, which will be of 8 GB size. Now what is the standard and all that will come in the next module over there. We will go ahead. I give some random name for our identification. Now a key pair. Remember we created a key pair. We created Edureka session 2. We had other key pairs also available. We are going to use Edureka session 2 only here, because we have created that and we have generated PPK file from that. A security group. We also created a security group, so I am using the Edureka session 2 security group. Saying continue. I can review my details. This is my Linux AMI. This is my instance type. This is my monitoring part, which you will see in the module 3. What is my key pair name? What is my security group name? And I'll say launch as instance. It will start launching the instance. And if you see the console, instance would be initially in a pending state. So if you remember, we talked about that instance would come in a pending state because the data would be copied from the EBS or S3 to the over here. Okay, so we'll give it a minute to launch. Okay, the instance came in a running state, but it's still not completely running. Reason, it has to pass through two status checks. So Amazon instance does two status checks for you. One is the region availability and second is the instance availability. So once it passes both the instance status checks, it will be available to you. So we'll wait for a minute to come into the status checks. Amit has a question, what are the two status checks? Amit, I'll show you. One is for the instance availability, another is the instance is reachable, or second is the region is reachable or not. I'll show you what Amazon shows that. I select the instance and I can show you now. Still it's in status checks. If I want to show the status checks only, at the bottom in the instance description, I click the status checks part. See, in the status checks, it shows two options. Now let me make it a little larger screen for you. System status checks and instance status checks. System status checks monitor the AWS system required to use this instance is ensured. So your region is available, your hardware is fine or not, working fine or not. Everything for the system perspective, it is checking. Then whether your instance is currently available, it is reachable on network or not, all these kind of a checks it is doing for the instance also. See, now it has passed the state. Status checks are 2x2 checks passed, and if you go a little bit below, it says system reachability check passed, instance reachability check passed. Clear, Amit? What are the two system checks? Now we go to a description part, and very good, important. This is my name of my instance. This is the instance ID, which is important. I need to know sometimes. This is my public DNS of the instance, so I can connect to the instance using this public DNS. So I'll copy this. If I go a little bit here, this instance is launched in US East 1C. It's a zone. It is launched with the security groups Edureka session 2. And if I click on the view rules, it will show me the rules also, that it says port 22 is open. The instance type is micro. And block device is SDA1. This is my EBS volume, and its a root device is also EBS, and my key pair name is Edureka session 2. So this is all the instance information available here. IP address, yes, good point. Thanks for reminding. So IP address, if you see now, this is the public DNS available, which we saw at the top. Private DNS and private IP. So if you see, the private IP and private DNS are same, because this is the DNS, this is an IP address over there. Okay, now we will be connecting this instance. So I copy the public DNS. I will be using a tool called Putty for the SSH part. So in the Putty, for the host name, I will provide the same public DNS of the instance, and in connection tab, in SSH tab, there is a place auth. That's an authentication. So in connection SSH auth, I need to provide that PPK file which we generated, because my instance would be need to authorize this private key file, because when we launched this instance, that key was attached. Now Amit, if you remember, you asked me the question that how this instance IP and the key is attached to each other. So when we launch an instance, during that we define the key which is attached to that. So whenever we try to connect to that instance using the public DNS, we need to provide this key file. We can launch another instance with the same key file. We can launch multiple instances with the same key file. Whenever we want to connect to that instance, we need to provide this key file. Clear? Thanks for that. So I just say browse and I select my PPK file, Edureka session 2. So I can say Edureka session 2. I select open. Babu wants to try me without PPK file. Babu, I will show you that also. If you want, let's me delete this first. Okay, so I'm deleting the PPK file and I'm just saying open. The server's host key is not cached in the registry. Okay, and I provide the key name, sorry, username. You see, disconnected, no supported authentication methods available. Server sent public key, so it is not available. Clear, Babu? So I am stopping this console for the Amit has a question, all allowed IP address should have the key. No, it's not for the Amit IP address, it's for the instance. A key is always attached to an instance. Now that instance can have a elastic IP or public DNS, whatever IP it will have. Whenever you try to connect to that instance, it will have that key. Now, suppose you launch an instance without key. It is always possible to launch an instance without key. In that aspect, you don't need to provide the key file. The key file is just an additional step of a security mechanism. And Babu has a question, how you get the user ID? Good question. You need to know for Amazon Linux, which we are using, the default user ID is EC2 user. When you are using Ubuntu, the default username would be root. For Windows, the default username is administrator, and you need to generate a password using this key file. So you need to know this part. Or you can Google and you can find. So Shashi has a question. So SSH session with AWS is not user ID password. It is based on certificate. Certificate, yes, not the X509. Yes, this is PM file. X509 is a little different over there. But yes, the SSH session can or cannot be with the username password. I would say this way. Reason, when you launch an instance, if you do not attach a key file, you do not need to provide that key file. If you attach a key file while launching the instance, you need to provide while as the authentication mechanism. Clear? Okay, so now I try to connect. I'll be going little, I'll be providing the authentication, and I'll be selecting my key. Let your screen load out. Okay, so I say now open. See, it has authenticated me and I am able to log in. Clear? So this is how. And now for Amazon Linux only, Amazon Linux, they do not provide a root usage. So you have to, whatever the task you want to perform, you have to use the sudo user. So either you can do sudo su and that's all a Linux thing. So we will not go in a depth about that. We will do one good example. Let's deploy a Apache server and run and host an application. So I have some command ready. So pardon me for that part. I have created something ready immediately. So some of the commands. So this will install Apache for me. And this will start an Apache for me. This command. Okay. And now I can modify. I'll modify the index.html, create a index.html file. And I will paste some of the content over here. Now it's not HTML, so I'll put down some HTML here. It is pasted twice, right? That's okay. We just want to see the demo. Okay. Now we have a hosted Apache server. We have installed the Apache server. We have created one index.html file. If I use the public DNS of that instance and using the index.html file, would it load the file or not? Would it display the file me or not? Any guess? Shashi says it will. Anybody else? Amit says yes. Anybody says no? Amit, right? That's the important part. We have not opened the AT port here, so it would not work. So we have to open. Let's start with the first. So it's keep on finding. See, it could not connect. And now we are going and opening a AT port here. So I'm going to security groups. I will open port 80. I'll say add rule, and then I'll say apply rule changes. Now should it work or anything else pending? Any guess? Should it work or not? Okay, Dilip says it works. So let's try. It works, right? So we hosted an application on Amazon with our concept of the port security groups and launch and completely application. So that's what I wanted to show you, how it would be working completely for you. And one thing which we missed, I'll show you quickly. As I promised before also, I don't complete in 3 hours. I normally take almost 4 hours. So I take liberty more for 10 minutes. Elastic IPs. I'll quickly touch upon that. So on the left hand side, I click on the Elastic IP. I will say allocate new address. It will be allocating one IP address to me. And this IP address is available to my region now. And I am from the instance, what I'll do is, on the top there is a button associate address. So I select the IP and say associate address. It allows me to attach to my instance. And I say yes, associate. So my instance, this is my public DNS of my instance as well as public IP. Both are available. So I should be able to access the instance with this now. Now if I type this, it's still trying. Okay, so I'm trying with the old IP yet, and it's trying to find, because that old IP or old public DNS is not available now. Okay, Amit has a question. There would be a common project through the course. No, Amit, what we would do is I would try to do hands-on for that course. So today's session was about EC2. So I tried to cover all the topics of EC2, and then we'll do the hands-on of the EC2. Next session is on EBS and S3. I'll be doing complete hands-on of the EBS S3, and I'll give you the manuals also. I'll show you the manuals. Somehow it's still able to find. Let's try with our first new IP. What happens? Okay, so it's working with the new IP only. It's index.html, so it should work. Let me try with the old IP again. It's bringing from cache or what? This is my old DNS name. Even if you see my EC2 instance, it's not reachable now through putty with the instance which I connected, because the DNS of that instance is changed. So it's not reachable now. I'm not able to access it anything, and I'm not able to run any commands. So I have to stop and launch a new instance only. Also the previous DNS, as you see, it's not reachable. So it could not found. Good question from Shankar. How long will it take to update the DNS with the new static IP? It takes almost a minute to 2 max, they say. But also the vice versa is very important. If I release an elastic IP, now if I release, first I have to disassociate address. So if I say disassociate address, do you think what should happen? Any guess? For a minute, there would be no IP address to EC2 instance. If you see, there is no IP address. Public DNS is not available. And what Shashi said is right. It will take around 2-3 minutes. In 2-3 minutes, instance would be attached a new public DNS. So when I disassociate my elastic IP, it would take around 2-3 minutes and then generate a new public DNS and attach to it. So then we have to wait for 2-3 minutes for this to happen. Now till the time I just remove the IP address because it cost us. So I'll just say release the address. I'm coming back to the EC2 instances. I still don't have the IP yet. Public DNS is not available for me. It takes almost 2-3 minutes, they say, so it will be taking time. But if I say now show you the content of my material which we are sharing with you, so how to create a new instance key pair, if I just open that. So it would be step-wise guide for you, where screenshot-wise, what you have to click, where you have to go. You have to define the key pair name. You have to download the PM file. So all this is mentioned over here. The only part which is not mentioned here is generating a PPK file, which I again repeat for you. You have to do it through the PuttyGen tool. In the PuttyGen, you have to load the PEM file first and then save it without the passphrase, and it will be available for you. You still will have a same kind of a security group kind of a launch Amazon EC2 instance, connect to the Amazon EC2 instance, associate elastic IP, how to share. This is again, I would recommend. See, I have not shown you how to connect to a Windows instance. So a good point to note, I would like you to explore on your own. If you have a problem, you can come back next week and we will do much over there and we will try to solve your problem. Unfortunately, it's taking 2-3 minutes or more. It's still not IP available, but I'm sure in 2-3 minutes more, it will be available. So even if I go bottom, the public DNS is not available to it. They say because what happens that whenever the elastic IP is released, this will go back to the pool, and from pool a new IP address or new DNS would be attached, and that takes almost 2-3 minutes because it has to find that this does not have any public DNS. It has to find the newly available DNS and attach to it. So this concludes my today's session and almost 4 hours. So any questions, any doubt? I hope you all enjoyed, and your 1 hour length would be justified for you. And I may be a little sorry for that, but again I'll tell you, module 2 and 3 would be same kind of a scenario where you would be going for 4 hours. So whenever you are planning your schedule, please plan at least 3.5 to 4. It's little tough for me to speak continuously 4 hours, and I understand it's more tougher for you because you have to digest a theory for 3 hours continuously. But I'll ensure that I don't make you bored a lot and you'll enjoy the session. And this we will be uploading to our website edureka.com. It would be available to you as a video, so you can see the complete recording of this part, and even this manuals would be available. You can check. If it's not available, you can raise a ticket with our support group. Okay, thanks all for the joining the today's session, and I hope you had a pleasant day. Hey, before you run away, just last thing, now the elastic IP is available. Just wanted to, public DNS is available, not the elastic. So it's available to you all. And thanks again, thanks for joining, and see ya next week. Bye-bye.